Chapter 9:17. Jiang Tian took a deep look at Fairy Miao Yi. To be honest, he had a good impression of Fairy Miao Yi. Moreover, Jiang Tian could see that Fairy Miao Yi had an innate spiritual body, an extremely rare and powerful greenwood spiritual body. However, Jiang Tian was very serious about relationships. He only had Qing'er in his heart. How could he marry another woman? Even if Empress Fuyao was alive, even if she was a real fairy or goddess, Jiang Tian would not take a second look at her. However, Lady Annihilator had good intentions, and Miao Yi was also sincere. Jiang Tian did not want to hurt them, so he quickly bowed and said sincerely and solemnly, "Thank you for your kindness. Thank you for your love." This junior is very touched and terrified. However, I cannot force my feelings. Junior's wife's kindness to me is as heavy as a mountain and as deep as the sea. No matter what, I can't let her down. Fairy Miao Yi's face instantly turned as pale as paper. 2 streams of tears flowed down her cheeks and landed on the ground, crystal clear like morning dew. Although she felt that the marriage proposal was a little abrupt, she was actually quite confident. After all, her qualifications were there. Even the Taoist of Qing Xian had once pursued her. However, Jiang Tian had rejected her so clearly and firmly. The blow to her was self-evident. It could even be said that no girl would be able to withstand such a blow. Lady Annihilator also revealed a look of disappointment. She felt that Jiang Tian was too stubborn. The smile on her face also disappeared. She said coldly, "Immortal Master Jiang, you are too stubborn. This marriage not only involves you and Miao Yi, but also the alliance of the Demon Cave Mountain and the Heartless Sect. Now, the Star Capital, the Demon Cave Mountain, and the Heartless Sect have formed a tripartite balance of power. Do you think that you alone, a mere second-level foundation establishment cultivator, will be a match for Li Longyuan from the Heavenly Star Palace? Even with Ding Lai's help, will you be a match for them?" Jiang Tian's face darkened slightly. However, after thinking about it, it was normal for Lady Annihilator to act up in such a situation. To put it bluntly, in terms of feelings, Lady Desolation treated Fairy Miao Yi as her daughter. Goddess Miao Yi was the fruit of her blood, sweat, and tears that she had spent over 10 years to nurture. By denying Goddess Miao Yi, Jiang Tian had indirectly denied her, and even the entire Heartless Sect. "Senior Desolator, you seem to have made a mistake." However, Jiang Tian's voice also turned cold as he said solemnly, "It was you who wanted to deal with Li Longyuan and asked for my help. Why am I begging you for help now? Besides, I've never been weaker than anyone in my life. I've never relied on others for protection, let alone a group of women. Immortal Master Jiang, aren't you going too far? Even if you don't agree, you don't have to be so harsh." Miao frowned and flew into a rage. But at this moment, Fairy Miao Yi said coldly, "Forget it, Master. I don't want to be someone's concubine. I don't agree to this marriage." Demonic Desire was slightly taken aback as he looked at his disciple in surprise. Miao Yi had made it clear that she didn't care if Jiang Tian was married or not. As long as she could follow Jiang Tian, she didn't care about her status. But soon, she understood that this was because Jiang Tian had clearly rejected the marriage. Miao Yi was a proud and arrogant person, so she could only express her stance in this way. Otherwise, it would be too embarrassing for her. Since Miao Yi doesn't agree, let's drop the matter. Immortal Master Jiang, just pretend that I never said this." Miao's face was as cold as ice. He stood up and left. Miao Yi's eyes were misty. She didn't look at Jiang Tian again and also stood up to leave. After leaving Jadewell Peak, Miao didn't return to the sect immediately. Instead, he stepped on his flying sword and rushed towards Star Capital like a meteor. "Master, why are you going to Star Capital?" Miao Yi caught up with Miao and asked, panting. "I want to withdraw from the Revolutionary Alliance." Miao said coldly. "This immortal master concealment is so arrogant. How dare he not give me face? I want to show him how he can defeat Li Longyuan without me. Master, Immortal Master Jiang and I are just in a relationship. How can it affect such a big matter? This is too childish. Miao Yi was anxious. She didn't want Jiang Tian to be taken advantage of. I've made up my mind. Stop talking nonsense and return to the sect immediately. Miao Yu's face was as cold as ice. His flying sword suddenly accelerated and left Miao Yi far behind. Soon, Miao Yu arrived at Star Capital and saw the city lord, Ding Lai. Ding Lai, I want to withdraw from the Revolutionary Alliance. Miao Yu said coldly without hesitation. What? Senior Miao Yu, why? Is there something wrong with me? Ding Lai's face changed drastically. He was so shocked that he jumped up from his chair. Miao Yu was a fake core cultivator and an important trump card of the Revolutionary Alliance. He wasn't inferior to Jiang Tian. They had a good discussion. Now that she suddenly withdrew, Ding Lai was stunned. It has nothing to do with you. We monks are originally outsiders. It's better not to get involved in worldly affairs. Miao Yu said mockingly. Why? Isn't it because Zhenyin didn't give me face? I'd like to see how long he can be so stubborn. She believed that Jiang Tian would definitely regret it and come crying and begging her, Miao Yi. Even if he forcefully raised his cultivation level, how could he be Li Longyuan's match? What a fool's dream. But Ding Lai wanted to say something but stopped. He looked very troubled. Don't worry. I'll stay out of it and not help either side. I won't tell the Starry Palace about your secret plans. Miao Yu said mockingly. However, I have to remind you. That Jiang guy's real cultivation level is only at the second level of foundation establishment. Every time Zhenyin uses his cultivation level, his true essence will increase crazily. Ding Lai was slightly moved. He then regained his composure and said lightly, but Immortal Master Jiang can kill the blue-eyed toad and break a mountain with a sword. Miao Yu had already considered this point and said with slight disdain, in this world, there are many pills that can quickly increase one's cultivation level, such as the explosive energy pill, furious heart powder, and so on. This kind of pill is extremely harmful. He can't take it a second time for at least 3 years, and his cultivation level will drop to the second level of foundation establishment. Senior, do you think Immortal Master Zhenyin took this kind of pill? Ding Lai's heart suddenly sank and fell into the abyss. His face instantly turned pale. It's very possible. In short, I want to withdraw. Please inform the others. You have to think carefully about what you should do. Miao Yu said disdainfully. He ignored Ding Lai and stepped on his flying sword, soaring into the sky. Dad, what should we do? Ding Lingdang went from the inner room to the living room and frowned. It's very troublesome. Without the Heartless sect, we have little chance of winning with just Immortal Master Jiang. Ding Lai was in a terrible fix. Then what should we do? Do we also have to withdraw? Then only Immortal Master Jiang and Demon Cave Mountain are left. Ding Lingdang asked. Demon Cave Mountain? I'm afraid it's very troublesome. Immortal Master Jiang killed Ji Shuifen's Wu Tengeiying. Wu Xiuda will find out sooner or later, and he's not that forgiving. Ding Lai mumbled to himself with a worried expression. Ding Lingdang also felt very troubled. Suddenly, Ding Lai frowned and asked, Girl, if you were in charge of this, what would you do? I don't care what others do. We have to kill Li Longyuan to avenge our sister. Ding Lingdang straightened her body and gritted her teeth. Besides, Li Longyuan is a perverse person with no benevolence. Without him, the Heavenly Star's small world wouldn't be like this. Whether it's for public or private reasons, the Ding family must fight Li Longyuan to the death. We have to fight, but we still have to think about strategy. Ding Lai smiled bitterly and frowned. Immortal Master Jiang is extremely talented, but he's too young. He's only at the second level of foundation establishment. If we wait another 10 years, he'll have a 50% chance of killing Li Longyuan. This matter needs to be discussed at length. Right, I have to go to Jadewell Peak and talk to Immortal Master Jiang. Prepare the flying device. At this time, Jiang Tian's voice suddenly sounded out of nowhere. Don't come. I already know the situation. It's Immortal Master Jiang. Ding Lai looked around in disbelief. He was stunned for a few seconds before he realized that it was the protective crystal talisman Jiang Tian had given him. He took out the crystal talisman and clicked his tongue in wonder. This is too amazing. Master Kang's crystal talisman is so small, but it has two functions, protection and sound transmission. Miayu has already informed the other peak masters. Now that their morale is low, I'm afraid that apart from Jadewell Peak, only Jin Songfeng's family can still fight. Jiang Tian's voice came unhurriedly. Then what should we do? Ding Lai's expression changed drastically as he panicked. Fight. Jiang Tian said concisely. Are we really going to fight? Ding Lai was at a loss, his hands trembling slightly. I'm not afraid of a mere Li Longyuan. Jiang Tian's calm voice was filled with great confidence as he said indifferently, I will start from the border city and push all the way to the Heavenly Star Palace. Don't make a fuss and don't raise the flag of rebellion. Just prepare to take over the Heavenly Star Palace. What? You actually want to take over the city? Immortal Master Jiang, should we plan again? Ding Lai said anxiously. But Jiang Tian had already retracted his divine sense and stopped communicating with him. Ding Lai was stunned for a long time, his expression solemn. Ji Shui Peak. After Peak Master Wu Shioda returned to the peak, he immediately received news from Miayu. It turns out that Zhenyin is really only at the second level of foundation establishment. He used pills to forcefully increase his cultivation. He pondered for a while and summoned an elder. His eyes flashed with killing intent as he asked in a deep voice, have you interrogated him? Who was the person who killed my beloved son, Teng Ying, by the Blackwater Lake? Immortal Master Zhenyin. The elder bowed slightly and said coldly. It's really him. Wu Shioda's expression changed slightly, then he slapped the armrest of his chair and said angrily, hypocrite, despicable, and shameless. Cruel and unscrupulous. It's a pity that Jiang Haishan and Ding Lai are idiots and short-sighted. They still want to elect him as the mountain master of Demon Cave Mountain and even the ruler of this small world. Chapter 9:18. Please listen, Peak Lord. The elder's face stiffened, and he smiled bitterly. According to that cultivator, it was the young Peak Lord who provoked the Concealment Immortal Master first, and then the Concealment Immortal Master attacked. Besides, the Concealment Immortal Master is very powerful. I'm afraid we are no match for him. Wu Shioda sneered. Ha, I have 3,000 cultivators on my Jishui Peak. I don't believe we can't kill him. Besides, I don't need to do it myself. What do you mean, Peak Lord? The elder was surprised. Do you know that the Qing Xian Dozi died on Earth? Wu Shioda said with a smile. I've heard about it. The elder nodded solemnly. Rumor has it that the Starry Palace received a message from the Immortal Trap Array. The one who killed the Qing Xian Daozi was the strongest person on Earth, Kang Te-Chu. If I'm not wrong, the Concealment Immortal Master is Kang Te-Chu. Wu Shioda's eyes flickered, and he said coldly, do you think he can survive in this space? What? Kang Te-Chu is the strongest person on Earth after all. He killed the Qing Xian Daozi. How would he dare to come to the Starry Sky Domain? Is he crazy? Is he so stupid? The elder couldn't believe it. He first appeared in Qingyang Town and killed several members of the City Patrol Department. Wang Qingzheng wanted to catch him. And the transmission array outside Qingyang Town was connected to the Earth realm. Jiang Zhenin should be Kang Te-Chu. Wu Shioda's face was ferocious. He entered the information into several strange arrays and laughed wildly. I'll send a message to the Starry Palace. I'd like to see how he can challenge Li Longyuan when he's only at the second level of foundation establishment. Wu Xiuda, you're a chameleon. You were very grateful when I gave you the crystal talisman. All of a sudden, a mocking voice was heard. Jiang Tian suddenly appeared in the flickering light and shadow, just like the ripples of water. You! Why are you here? Wu Xiuda was alarmed. He didn't expect Jiang Tian to arrive at such a timely moment. His expression changed drastically. But in the next moment, he calmed down and said disdainfully, "Ha, should I call you Immortal Concealment Master or Kang Te-Chu? Up to you. It's just a title." Jiang Tian said with a cold smile. "Kang Te-Chu, you are not a qualified cultivator." Wu Xiuda was very calm. He sipped his tea and mocked. Cultivators are all decisive, cold, and merciless. They cut the weeds and dig up the roots to prevent future troubles. You killed my son, so you shouldn't have left me alive. Hee, I can kill an ant like you anytime. Jiang Tian said disdainfully. I'm an ant. Wu Xiuda flew into a rage. You're just fishing for fame. You should know who's the ant here. You're only at the second level of the foundation establishment stage, and he wants to fight with Li Longyuan of the Heavenly Star Palace. Wu Xiuda stood up and looked down at Jiang Tian with a mocking expression. Do you rely on drugs? Do you rely on explosive energy pills and furious heart powder? Aren't you afraid of killing yourself? With your inferior cultivation, not to mention Li Longyuan, even I, Wu Xiuda, am far behind you. I'm at the third level of the foundation establishment stage. Third level of the foundation establishment stage? In my eyes, you're trash. Jiang Tian said disdainfully. How dare you? Wu Xiuda's face turned cold. A surging aura swept out. He stepped forward and roared loudly. You're just a lowly earthling. How dare you kill my son? Kneel down and kill yourself to atone for your sins. You want me to kneel down and kill myself to atone for my sins? You have a rich imagination. Facing the terrifying aura, Jiang Tian smiled faintly like a spring breeze caressing his face. Lowly earthling. If you kill yourself, you'll have an intact body. I'll make sure you die without a burial place. Wu Xiuda said arrogantly. Suddenly, Jiang Tian raised his hand and slapped him to the ground. He sneered and said, I dare you to say the word lowly earthling again. What? You? What's your cultivation level? Haven't the effects of the explosive energy pill disappeared after you took it? Wu Xiuda rolled 8 meters away and covered his red face. He was stunned and couldn't believe it. When Jiang Tian attacked, he felt as if he had fallen into a piece of iron and couldn't move at all. He was completely at Jiang Tian's mercy. He originally thought that Jiang Tian used a secret art to forcefully increase his cultivation level. Now that the effects of the pill had disappeared and his cultivation level had decreased, he could easily suppress Jiang Tian. But he never expected that Jiang Tian didn't lose any of his cultivation. Jiang Tian beat him as if he were a weakling. Do I need an explosive energy pill to beat you? You're overestimating yourself. Jiang Tian was full of ridicule. He stretched out his hand and grabbed Wu Xiuda and slapped him again. Pa! Blood splattered and Wu Xiuda's cheek was smashed. He flew more than 10 meters away and fell to the ground like a dead dog. Kang Te-Chu, you've gone too far. Wu Xiuda was furious and his eyes were red. His son was brutally killed by this person and now he was humiliated by this person. This was simply unbearable. His hair was disheveled and his face was ferocious. He rushed towards Jiang Tian like a madman. He clenched his hands and black Jin Yuan rippled like water and condensed into a long saber. He slashed towards Jiang Tian. Water saber art, black water saber art. Heaven-cleaving mountain-breaking style. Die for me. At this moment, Wu Xiuda was full of confidence. He had the confidence to kill Jiang Tian. The black water saber art had endless magical uses. His water Jin Yuan could control water. As long as the speed of water reached 460 feet in an instant, it could cut through steel. It would definitely cut a person in half. It was indestructible. It was just like water jets and high-pressure water guns in the real world. The speed of water spray was 1,448,000 miles per hour and could cut through titanium alloy. Wushoda's black water saber art had been cultivated to the greater success stage. He had used this saber art to kill a level 3 Foundation Establishment cultivator. Is this your trump card? You're too disappointing. Jiang Tian shook his head gently. It could be said that even if Jiang Tian had not cultivated the Mystic Water Transformation and the Green Dragon Mystic Water Divine Body, he would not be afraid at all with the Gung Metal Divine Body. Moreover, Jiang Tian had already cultivated the Mystic Water Transformation. The Mystic Water Transformation was born from the famous Green Dragon Mystic Water Divine Body, one of the 13 strongest divine bodies in the cultivation world. After Jiang Tian had cultivated the Mystic Water Transformation, it was equivalent to having the Green Dragon Mystic Water Divine Body. He could control all water and benefit all living things. Using any water cultivation technique in front of Jiang Tian was tantamount to showing off one's skills in front of Guan Yu. Pa! Jiang Tian only moved his right hand gently. It was like a person picking a lotus on a grasshopper's boat. It was easy and casual. But suddenly, the black water saber was firmly fixed in the air as if it was embedded in a 1,000-kilogram boulder. It could not move an inch or move an inch. Wushoda was still holding the saber with both hands and hanging in the air like a hanged ghost. What? Move! His angry roar came to an abrupt end. His face was full of shock and horror. It was very awkward. Why can't it move? This is impossible. Wushoda wanted to cry but no tears came out. No matter how he channeled his Jin Yuan and used many secret techniques, the black saber remained motionless. Why is it impossible? Do you really think I'm a level 2 Foundation Establishment cultivator? Besides, I'm at Foundation Establishment level 2. Can't I kill you? Jiang Tian laughed, his laughter was filled with mockery. In his heart, he was even grateful to the impulsive Lady Desolation. Some ticking time bombs had to be detonated in advance. Pa! Jiang Tian kicked Wushoda in the chest. Swoosh! Wushoda was sent flying like a dead dog. He opened his mouth and spat out blood, he could not withstand it at all. I can't accept this. Wushoda roared as he spat out blood. He truly could not accept this cruel defeat. This was too illogical. A Foundation Establishment Level 2 was indeed a Foundation Establishment Level 2. Even if he was only at Foundation Establishment Level 3, he could still crush him. Furthermore, he was using his ancestral Black Water Saber technique. Black Water Splitting Saber. He roared indignantly and used his strongest move. Charging forward, he condensed his Jin Yuan into a black saber and swept it out. Chi! 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 After a series of surges, the water-type Jin Yuan split the saber into hundreds of sabers. Like a bud blooming into a flower, the saber flowers swept towards Jiang Tian in an overwhelming manner. This saber move could only be used by late-stage or even Foundation Establishment Level 8 or 9. Wushoda used his lifetime's cultivation to forcefully execute it. After this slash, he was already panting and spitting out blood from exhaustion. His body trembled and his black hair turned white, he was like a lamp that was about to run out of oil. However, he believed that this saber move could definitely kill Jiang Tian. He could not help but want to laugh maniacally. However, before he could laugh, his smile froze completely. Trash! Jiang Tian smiled disdainfully and raised his hand to touch it again. Splash! Countless black water blades froze in the air, motionless and turning into a still image. In that instant, Wushoda froze on the spot as if he was struck by lightning. His mind was in a frenzy and he was about to go crazy. Regardless of whether Jiang Tian swallowed pills or cheated, Jiang Tian's current combat strength was at late-stage foundation establishment or even fake core. At least for today, he had absolutely no hope of killing Jiang Tian. Do you understand now? Who's the ant here? Jiang Tian stomped down and directly stomped him onto the ground like a dead dog. Then, he said mockingly. Ha, Kang Tae-chu, you don't dare to kill me. You can't kill me. At the brink of death, Wu Xiuda actually started laughing crazily. Oh, why? Jiang Tian laughed. There's no one in the entire universe that I don't dare to kill, not to mention the small world. I was originally a spy of the Feather Guard lurking in Demon Cave Mountain. I have a communication array that can directly contact Li Longyuan. Wu Xiuda laughed strangely and said hoarsely, if you dare to kill me, the communication array will immediately activate when your heart stops beating and your divine soul is destroyed. They'll immediately know that you're Kang Tae-chu, the culprit who killed the Qing Xian sect disciple. Immortal Master Janine, Senior Wu, can you calm down for a moment? At this moment, a cold voice rang out. A flying sword flashed past, and Fairy Miao Yi's graceful figure suddenly appeared in the hall. She seemed to have come in a hurry. Her face was red and sweaty, and her hair was stuck to her temples. Her clothes were torn and dirty, as if she had just gone through a fierce battle. Janine. Kang Tae-chu, if you let Wu Xiuda go, I can persuade him to destroy those arrays and keep it a secret forever. Goddess Miao Yi frowned. And then? Jiang Tian asked calmly. And then? Goddess Miao Yi was stunned for a moment and said anxiously, of course it's to run far away. Immediately return to your earth realm, hide, and avoid the danger. Li Longyuan is not someone you can afford to offend. Chapter 9:19. I can't afford to offend him. Jiang Tian chuckled. Kang Tae-chu. Fairy Miao Yi was very anxious. She spoke quickly. Do you know? Your identity has been exposed to a certain extent. At least now, the Tianhuang city has already guessed that you are Kang Tae-chu. It's just that they aren't sure where you are. I've never hated you because you looked down on me. I'm really worried about you. If Wu Xiuda spreads the news that you are in the Demon Cave Mountain, the Tianhuang city will immediately send an army to the border and you won't be able to escape. Why should I leave? Do you think I'll definitely lose? Isn't the third level of foundation establishment right under my feet? Jiang Tian asked. Fairy Miao Yi took a deep breath and said, let me ask you, is your cultivation level at the second level of foundation establishment? Yes. Then do you know how big the gap between the second level of foundation establishment and the golden core is? Fairy Miao Yi said seriously. Golden core cultivators are already called perfected immortals, not human immortals, sky immortals and earth immortals at the foundation establishment level. Those fake immortals have already undergone a qualitative change. It's no exaggeration to say that you're as vulnerable as a 3-year-old in front of Li Longyuan. The more she spoke, the more anxious and angry she became. She said angrily, besides, do you really think that Li Longyuan is the only golden core cultivator in the Tianqing Palace? Li Longyuan is a descendant of the Li family of the reclusive royalty Tang dynasty. But the Tianqing Palace also has Yuan Tiangong's family. Some people even suspect that a mid-stage golden core senior brother of Yuan Tiangang didn't die, but chose to condense his blood and stop his life to sleep in the Tianqing Palace. In your eyes, they are unshakable. Jiang Tian chuckled disdainfully. But in my eyes, whether it's Yuan Tiangong's family or the reclusive royalty Li family, they are just ants that I can destroy with a wave of my hand. Do you know that I once dominated the universe and killed 5 million perfected immortals with a sword? You're crazy. You're really crazy. Fairy Miao Yi couldn't believe it. She flung her sleeves and said coldly, the ignorant are fearless. You're courting death. Isn't it great to return to Earth and be the number one person? Why should I return it? Jiang Tian said disdainfully. Why should I go back? In all my life, I, Kang Tae-chu, have always gone against the flow. I've always fought against the strong. I've never taken a step back in the struggle for the great Tao. Fine, fine. I tried to persuade you, but you didn't listen. If you want to die, then die. I won't stop you. Fairy Miao Yi said angrily with tears in her eyes. After learning about Jiang Tian's true cultivation from celestial annihilation desire, she was very worried. She hurriedly rushed to Jade Well Mountain to persuade Jiang Tian to retreat. In order to take a shortcut, she even ran into a few yellow-skinned dragon lion demon beasts at the edge of Crimson Thunder Mountain, whose battle prowess was comparable to the Middle Foundation establishment stage. She had gone through untold hardships to repel those demonic beasts. She was surrounded by danger and almost lost her life. But she didn't expect that Jiang Tian had already arrived at Jishui Mountain. She rushed over on her flying sword and was so tired that she was panting. Originally, Jiang Tian's rejection of the marriage made her feel embarrassed. She came to persuade Jiang Tian relentlessly. She was already blaming herself for being shameless. But she didn't expect that Jiang Tian would actually be disdainful and treat her words as wind. She was simply putting hot face on a cold butt. How could she not be angry? Seeing that she was about to cry, Jiang Tian's expression softened a little. I know you have good intentions. However, Li Longyuan's target is Earth. This battle is unavoidable. Also, you must persuade your master not to go astray and stand against me. Otherwise, I won't be polite. What did you say? You're not the one who went astray. Fairy Miao Yi felt that she was going crazy. She felt that Jiang Tian had gone crazy. Jiang Tian couldn't be bothered to explain. He ignored her and looked down at Wu Xiuda coldly. Send a message to the Heavenly Star Palace. Tell them that the concealment immortal master is me, Kang Tae-chu. But that's all you can say. Don't expose City Lord Ding Lai. Wu Xiuda couldn't believe it and laughed maniacally. You're not afraid of death. Are you really not afraid of death? How would you know Li Longyuan's terrifying strength? In fact, he knew that if he sent the message, he wouldn't have any bargaining chips and methods to threaten Jiang Tian. He would definitely die. Send the message. I won't kill you. If you don't, you'll die immediately. Jiang Tian said coldly. Kang Tae-chu, are you crazy? Fairy Miao Yi was already numb from the shock of Jiang Tian. Forcing Wu Xiuda to send a message to the Heavenly Star Palace was clearly courting death. Okay. I'll send the message. Wu Xiuda hurriedly rolled and crawled to the front of the communication array. He carved words on the array pestle and inserted the array pestle into the array eye of the communication array. Boom! The communication array trembled violently. A stream of information spread across the entire Heavenly Star small world and shot towards the north. After seeing him send the message, Jiang Tian walked out leisurely. Around him, the elder and many cultivators who had rushed over after hearing the news were mostly at the Qi refinement stage or the first or second level of the Foundation establishment stage. At this moment, seeing Jiang Tian walking over, they consciously retreated like the tide. They looked at Jiang Tian with panic and fear. You won't kill me. You really won't kill me. Wu Xiuda looked at Jiang Tian's back in disbelief. I can kill you at any time, but I won't kill you first. Jiang Tian didn't even turn his head. The only thing you can rely on now is Li Longyuan from the Heavenly Star Palace. I'll kill him slowly and let you experience endless fear and torture before I kill you. In your dreams. Wu Xiuda laughed crazily. Kang Tae-chu, you'll regret it. Because you'll never have a chance to kill me again, because powerful enemies will come one after another. I'll enjoy the beautiful scene of you being stomped into meat paste by the Heavenly Star's small world. If you don't believe me, then wait and see. Jiang Tian stepped on the flying sword and flew away, leaving Fairy Miao Yi standing there with a face full of shock and anger. Immortal Master Zhenin is the most powerful overlord on earth, Kang Tae-chu. He's the culprit who killed the Azure Mystic Sect disciple. 15 minutes later, this piece of news was earth-shattering. After setting off stormy waves, it instantly spread throughout Devil Cave Mountain, then to the border cities, and then to the giant sword sect, Devil Suppressing Temple, Wild Waves City, and Floating Spear City. This shocking news swept across the 9 heavens and 10 lands like a hurricane, shocking the entire Heavenly Star small world. All the people who heard it were dumbfounded. Back then, when the deity trap array was completed and the ancient covenant was established, no one on Earth was allowed to cultivate or ascend, maintaining the status of a low-level civilization. First, it acted as a cover for the many hidden sects in the ruins of immortality to prevent the invasion of higher-level civilizations. Second, the Earth was recuperating and waiting for the time to recover spirit chi. Then, the overlords of the ruins of immortality would descend and rule. Under the leadership of the Hidden Sects Alliance led by the Ruins of Immortality, the 3 Level 4 small worlds closest to Earth, Heavenly Star, Chia and Kanglan, were responsible for supervising the Earth. If anyone wanted to ascend, they would kill without mercy. In the long years, among the billions of ants on Earth, all the humans on Earth who wanted to ascend to the 3rd level of the Foundation establishment level were either killed by the 3 hidden sects or destroyed their cultivation. During the Middle Ages, the Heavenly Star small world killed thousands of human cultivators on Earth. The Heavenly Star small world even invaded Earth on a large scale. Overnight, they brazenly wiped out Qingcheng, which was once side by side with Kunlun, and cut off a glorious orthodoxy. Even Yuan Tiangang, when he ascended to the Heavenly Star small world, started as a servant and servant. Of course, he later controlled the Heavenly Star Palace with his own ability, but at that time, he was already a member of the Heavenly Star small world and had made great contributions to the Heavenly Star Palace. Only then did he inherit the mantle. For thousands of years, in the eyes of the people of the Heavenly Star small world, the humans on Earth were as weak as ants that could be trampled on at will. In the face of the peerless power of the Heavenly Star small world, the humans on Earth could only submit or die. There was no third way. It could be said that for so many years, Kang Te-Chu was the first person who dared to kill the humans of the Heavenly Star small world. Moreover, the one he killed was the Qing Xian Daozi, Li Longyuan's son. However, after he killed someone, it was not good for him to hide on Earth and bide his time. Instead, he came swaggering to the Heavenly Star domain. This was simply too shocking. Floating Spear City. The city walls were hundreds of feet high and made of huge stones that were dozens of meters long. It was impregnable and indestructible. Many civilians and even martial artists of the transcendent realm could only serve as laborers here. Dozens of them worked together and used rolling logs to push the huge stones up the slope to the top of the city wall. Hurry up! Damn it, I didn't eat enough for lunch. Next to them, a peak chi refinement stage self-cultivator from the Heavenly Star Palace waved a long whip and ruthlessly whipped their backs. With one whip, the flesh on their bodies exploded, and blood dripped. Not to mention the civilians, even martial artists of the transcendent realm dared not speak out. They were the descendants of the humans on Earth who were plundered by the Heavenly Star immortal cultivators. They had the martial arts inheritance, but they could only serve as slaves here and had no freedom. Boom! Suddenly, a thunderous sound came from the City Lord Mansion in the center of the giant city. An extremely powerful aura soared into the sky. The vast essence chi formed a pillar that was thousands of meters high. It broke through the clouds and spun like a tornado. It was vast and powerful, destroying everything in its path. Kang Te-Chu, you dared to kill Daoist Qing Xian and challenge the authority of the Heavenly Star Palace. I, Shen Tij, will kill you. His voice was like thunder that shook the sky. It was full of endless anger and shook people's hearts. In the sky, lightning flashed and thunder roared. Dark clouds gathered and covered the sky, leaving a large shadow on the ground. A terrifying and huge pressure came down like waves crashing on the shore, enveloping the entire giant city. The city lord has come out of seclusion. Countless people were suppressed until their legs trembled. They could not help but kneel on the ground, revealing a terrified expression as if they had seen a ghost. the city lord of Floating Spear City, the god of war Shintij. He came from the Heavenly Star Palace and was Li Longyuan's junior brother. He was at the Fake Core realm and had unparalleled combat skills. He had once killed 30,000 martial artists and cultivators who opposed the Heavenly Star Palace. 200 years ago, in the war to suppress many sects, Shintij had made many miraculous contributions. He was unparalleled and was conferred the title of Heavenly Star Domain War God by Li Longyuan. He led an army of 100,000 cultivators and guarded Floating Spear City. His birth could be said to be an earth-shattering event. Who is this Kang Taechu? How dare he challenge the Heavenly Star Palace? He killed Daoist Qing Xian. For a moment, the entire Floating Spear City was in an uproar. Millions of people knew that a shocking storm was about to sweep across the entire Heavenly Star small world. Is this true? Is the world going to be in chaos? Many people revealed looks of horror, trembling with fear. They were all shocked and trembling, not daring to believe what they were seeing. Chapter 920. Border City, City Lord Mansion, Conference Hall. A tall and burly man wearing beast skin armor sat on the throne like a tiger crouching and a dragon coiled up. At this moment, he was listening to a civil official reading the court bulletin with his eyes wide open. Under the throne, many advisors and soldiers stood respectfully. Each of them was like a lone peak, as deep as the abyss and high as the mountain. They had a strict aura and profound cultivation. At this moment, a woman in a palace dress staggered in. She knelt down and said with tears in her eyes, "Husband, Li Liang was killed by Kang Taechu. He was my only brother and my only family. You can't just ignore it. You have to avenge me. My beloved wife, get up." Fang Jingxiang stood up and slammed the table. He's just an ant in the secular world. How dare he provoke the Heavenly Star small world? I must kill him. Give the order, gather the troops and set off for Jadewell Peak. Okay, husband, I knew you were the strongest man in the world. Humph, of course. In this world, other than Li Longyuan, no one is my match. Fang Jingxiang's ugly face revealed a greedy look. He ignored the presence of the crowd and tore off her clothes. He began to work hard in front of everyone. The generals were already used to it. They kept their noses to their mouths and mouths to their hearts. Without making a sound, they slowly retreated. Husband, I want to follow you into battle and cheer for you. I want to see you tear Kang Taechu into pieces. Ah! Li Hongyu's charming face was filled with viciousness at this moment. Then, she became intoxicated. In the demon-subduing temple, thunder and lightning surrounded it. Buddhist light shone brightly, and Buddhist chanting could be heard from time to time. A haggard old monk with a golden halo behind his head stepped out of the old monk's hut. He held the 9 palms Buddhist staff and chanted Buddhist names. He wore a brocade cassock and said in an old voice, "The heavens are virtuous. I don't want to increase the number of killings in this world. I will persuade everyone to stop fighting and use the boundless Buddhist power to convert Kang Taechu." Good. Countless arhats and eminent monks showed reverence and bowed deeply to Master Pudu, the abbot of the demon-subduing temple, to show the highest respect. At the giant sword sect, a deputy sect master roared, "This Kang Taechu is so overbearing. He killed the Qing Xian Daozi and dared to come to the Heavenly Star small world. He even dared to kill people from my giant sword sect. Activate the sect's most precious treasure. All of the sect's experts are to move out in full force and kill Kang Taechu." The sect leader was alarmed and issued the order. In the Starry Sky Palace, Li Longyuan, who had received the news, looked very calm. He waved his hand and said, "A mere ant from Earth is not enough for me to take action. Feather Robe Guards, go and settle this matter. Otherwise, bring your head to me." "Yes." The leader bowed and retreated. Li Longyuan was still sitting there cross-legged. His eyebrows were lowered, and he slowly closed his eyes like a statue. A quarter of an hour later, streaks of white light tore through the sky from the heavenly star palace's Dao field and flew across the sky. The 10 feather warriors of the feather robe guards came out together to fight Kang Te Chu and avenge the Qing Xian Daozi. In addition, the Heartless Sect, the Quake Dan Sect, the Yellow Maple Valley, the Snake Sect and the Prajna Temple, all the other forces were paying close attention to this matter. Some rushed to the Demon Cave Mountain and the Jade Well Peak to kill Jiang Tian. Some didn't immediately attack, not because they were afraid of Jiang Tian, but because they didn't think there was a need to. How could an abandoned person from Earth be qualified to challenge the Heavenly Star Small World? Besides, he was alone. He was only at the second level of the Foundation establishment level. Even if he was a Golden Core cultivator, he would be torn to pieces if he was surrounded by thousands of soldiers. After returning to the Jade Well Peak, Jiang Tian opened the treasure vault and plundered many materials. He occupied the refining room and used a lot of black iron to gradually forge 9,990 flying swords. Although the materials used by Jiang Tian to refine the disposable flying swords weren't bad, there was still a certain gap between them and these flying swords. Although the black iron flying swords weren't as good as the 9 swords and little black flying swords from the Heavenly Court, they were far superior to the disposable flying swords from before. During this process, he taught Xiao Beishan a set of Chaos Gale Hammer technique. Not only could it be used to refine weapons, but it was also a cultivation technique for refining weapons. Xiao Beishan's comprehension was good and he quickly understood it. He became Jiang Tian's good assistant in refining weapons and slowly became able to hold his own. In addition, he also taught Xiao Yingluo a set of Xianming Cloudwater Palm, which was also a very good cultivation technique. When the news spread to the other main peaks, the Peak Masters announced to the world that they were declaring war on the Jade Well Peak and Golden Pine Peak. Before this, they originally thought that Jiang Tian was a cultivator from a high-level hidden sect Small World and had high hopes for Jiang Tian. Jiang Tian used pills or secret techniques to forcefully increase his cultivation and combat strength, but after a few years of seclusion, he could still increase his combat strength again. Plus, with the help of Annihilation Desire, his chances of winning weren't small. But now, Annihilation Desire had withdrawn. Moreover, Jiang Tian was actually the culprit who killed the Qing Xian Daozi. All the major powers had declared war on Jiang Tian. How could Jiang Tian still have time to breathe? He would definitely lose. However, they didn't dare to expose Star Capital City's City Lord Ding Lai. After all, Star Capital City wasn't a small power. If Li Longyuan couldn't kill Ding Lai, then Ding Lai would take revenge on them. It was even to the extent that some of the elders and hall masters of the Jade Well Peak took Jiang Tian to be their mortal enemy. If it wasn't for them being uncertain of his strength, they would have long since attacked together and killed Jiang Tian without mercy. However, Jiang Tian was very leisurely and indifferent. Every day, he would either read the local geography, refine pills, meditate, or give pointers to the Qiao siblings and the Stinky Monkey on their cultivation and weapon refinement. He wasn't nervous at all. He even wore plain clothes and walked around on wooden clogs. Sometimes, he would row a boat in the clear stream, or climb the tower to look at the mountains after the rain, or walk leisurely on the riverside of the willow shade under Jade Well Peak. On this day, under Jade Well Peak, by the Willow Shade Riverside, Jiang Tian was sitting on a bluestone and playing the zither. Beside him, the Qiao siblings and the Stinky Monkey were barbecuing in high spirits. I really want to eat people. I'm so hungry. The large black dog lay on the rock and looked at the sky. Yi Tianren was silently meditating. And Chu Yunxiu was completely acting as Jiang Tian's maid, serving Jiang Tian tea and water. Immortal Master Jiang, don't you need to arrange troops? I heard that the border cities and Floating Spear City have already dispatched troops. Seeing Jiang Tian so leisurely, Jiang Yunhe was alarmed and nervous. He followed behind Jiang Tian and howled miserably. Now, among the 7 main peaks, Gold Pine Peak and Jade Well Peak were the main combatants. The other 5 peaks had already defected. Even at the main combatants of Gold Pine Peak and Jadewell Peak, many cultivators and martial artists had withdrawn, leaving without saying goodbye. In the blink of an eye, more than half of their battle strength had been lost. They simply didn't believe that Kang Taechu and Jiang Haishan would be a match for the Heavenly Star Palace. Moreover, Jiang Tian was a complete outsider, and he even crippled Chu Yonghui's cultivation. Emotionally, the people of Jadewell Peak also didn't approve of Jiang Tian. Even those who stayed were actually very pessimistic, and could flee at any time. From the map, Devil Cave Mountain was only a small corner of the Heavenly Star Palace's border. Jadewell Peak was practically invisible. If they wanted to take down the Heavenly Star Palace, it was tantamount to an ant trying to shake a tree, a small mouse trying to swallow an elephant. Gold Pine Peak's Jiang Haishan was anxious like an ant on a hot pan. He recruited troops everywhere and used up all his resources. Adding up the new and old experts, there were no more than 10 foundation establishment cultivators, no more than several hundred chi refinement cultivators, and the rest were only about 1,000 low-level martial artists. But these newly joined people were more like mercenaries or bounty hunters. They simply didn't approve of Jiang Tian, and only wanted to make money. If Jiang Tian was defeated, they would also immediately leave Jadewell Peak. They simply wouldn't fight to the death. At that time, it would be a crushing defeat. Jadewell Peak and Gold Pine Peak would be completely razed to the ground, not even a chicken or dog would be left. Ha, what are you afraid of? Yunhe, you brat, although you're a good-for-nothing, your father has foresight. He can see that we'll definitely win. Jiang Tian's clothes fluttered in the wind. His jade-like fingers lightly plucked the zither strings, producing a pleasant tinkling sound. Jiang Tian's expression was calm as he smiled. What does a mere border city count for? They're just cannon fodder. If they dare to come, they'll just be delivering resources to us. Reckless fool, you don't know how terrifying a border city is. You don't know the strength of the Heavenly Star Palace. On the side, the bruised Chu Yunxiu sneered disdainfully. She looked at Jiang Tian as if she was looking at a madman, gnashing her teeth in hatred. She hated Jiang Tian to the core. Jiang Tian crippled her father's cultivation, seized Jadewell Peak, and even ruined her marriage. It could be said that he had ruined her love life, marriage, and career. Not to mention, ever since she was captured by Jiang Tian would pull her out and beat her up from time to time. Although Jiang Tian controlled his strength and wouldn't beat her to death, every time he beat her up, her flesh would be lacerated and she would be dripping with blood. The pain of the flesh was simply torturous. Not only did Jiang Tian destroy her physically, but he also wantonly ravaged and humiliated her mentally. Every day, he mocked her for being blind, despised her for using Qiao Yingluo to win over Huang Biao and his son. He even mocked her for not having true feelings for Jiang Yunhe, saying that Jiang Yunhe liked Ding Ling Dang and so on. She was beaten by Jiang Tian all day long until she wanted to cry but had no tears. She wanted to die and wished she could hang herself. Slap. Chu Yunxiu's voice was very soft, but Jiang Tian still heard it. He raised his hand and gave her a slap, slapping her into the mountain wall. Immortal Master Jiang is really a deity. He seamlessly switched between elegant music performance and violent beating, as natural as moving clouds and flowing water. Jiang Yunhe said with a smile. This disciple's admiration for you is really like the endless torrential river, like the overflowing yellow river, once started, it can't be stopped. Kang Taechu, you've gone too far, killing without restraint. You will be punished by the heavens, you will definitely receive retribution. The desolate border army is about to arrive. Chu Yunxiu walked out of the cave, her face red and swollen, her flesh lacerated, and her nose almost collapsed. She gritted her teeth and said hatefully. I'll kill however many come, I'm just afraid they won't come. Jiang Tian sneered disdainfully. At this moment. Boom! Boom! Sounds like missiles piercing through the air were heard. Countless loud noises mixed together, like the roar of rolling thunder. The spiritual energy between heaven and earth trembled uneasily, and the trees on the mountain shook violently. It could be said to be earth-shattering. In the distant horizon, huge bronze chariots, warships, and cloud towers left large shadows on the ground. They flew through the air and attacked rapidly. Huge flags fluttered in the wind, their arrogance soaring to the sky. On each flag, a bloody word was written, "Desolate." Ha! Kang Tae-chu, your retribution came so quickly. The desolate border army is coming. You're going to die. You're all going to die. Seeing this, Chu Yunshio's beautiful eyes lit up, and she laughed wildly as if she had gone mad. Chapter 921. Every warship and chariot was dozens of meters long. There were white swans, giant eagles, red-crowned cranes, and other spiritual birds pulling the chariots. Some of them were even inscribed with ancient and profound runes. They relied on the dazzling splendor and aura they emitted to advance rapidly. The largest bronze chariot was the Desolate Edge. It was several hundred meters long and emitted an ancient brilliance. It was pulled by more than 10 flying beasts with huge wings, which looked like pterosaurs and were covered in green scales. Its aura was even more shocking. This bronze chariot was embedded with many crystals. The runes carved on the chariot were flowing endlessly, emitting a huge amount of Tao energy. Not only could it fly, it could also withstand and defend against attacks. On the Desolate Edge chariot, blood chi surged and its aura was like a rainbow. The majesty of a city lord poured down in torrents, violent and domineering without reservation. It was like a primordial beast descending from the sky, causing one's heart to palpitate. It instantly alarmed the entire Demon Cave Mountain. Is this the army of Desolate Edge City? What a powerful aura! Jiang Yunhe, the Qiao siblings, and the smelly monkey all looked up with fear. Their faces were as pale as a sheet of paper. Ha, it's just a pile of scrap metal. What's the big deal? Jiang Tian despised. Ha! When the chariot arrived within 10 miles of Jadewell Peak, the tens of thousands of cultivators and martial artists on the bronze chariot, warship, and cloud towers suddenly slammed the deck with the hilts of their weapons and shouted in unison. Their voices were like waves, and their auras were like dragons soaring into the sky, causing half of Demon Cave Mountain to tremble. Suddenly, the entire Jadewell Peak trembled slightly, emitting creaking sounds as if it was about to collapse. Many of the martial artists and cultivators inside were shaken to the point that their ears were ringing. Their chi and blood were surging, and they were terrified. Suddenly, clang clang. The entire Jadewell Peak resounded with the sound of golden gongs and bells, warning the crowd that a powerful enemy was attacking. However, the ancient chariots did not immediately attack Jadewell Peak. Instead, they floated around Jadewell Peak like an inescapable net, trapping Jadewell Peak. Soon, the hall masters, protectors, and elders of Jadewell Peak walked out one after another. Even the other main peaks were alarmed. Peak masters rushed over one after another. When Jiang Haishan arrived on his flying sword and saw the flag with the word "Desolate" on it fluttering in the wind, his face suddenly darkened and his heart skipped a beat. Today, the entire Desolate City has come out in full force. Fang Jingxiang is actually leading the troops himself. That's too fast. There were only a few days left until the news was sent out. But an army of 10,000 arrived. Kang Tae-chu doesn't have the time to recover his cultivation and improve his combat strength. He will definitely die in this battle. Yes. Fortunately, we managed to escape in time. Otherwise, we would be the ones to suffer today. I'm afraid that Kang Tae-chu has already run away after hearing the news. How would he dare to accept the challenge? Some of the other peak masters' expressions changed drastically in disbelief, while others were gloating and watching from the sidelines. They looked at Jadewell Peak with mocking expressions. Desolate Border City, compared to the other three giant cities, even though it wasn't the most prosperous city, because it had to resist the beast tide and kill the bandits of Desolate Border, it was one of the cities with the greatest fighting strength. Legend has it that Fang Jingxiang was a peak master of a huge ridge on Demon Cave Mountain. He made a living by robbing and was as ferocious as a demon, killing countless people. By chance, he obtained an inheritance from an ancient battlefield in Demon Cave Mountain. Since then, his cultivation soared to mid-stage pseudo-core and he was not far from a true golden core. In the past, his combat strength was unparalleled and he slaughtered his way through hundreds of kilometers, suppressing half of Demon Cave Mountain. His reputation was so great that even peerless experts would shudder at the sight of him and retreat to show their respect. He nearly unified Demon Cave Mountain. However, he was recruited by Li Longyuan and was conferred the title of an in-name disciple, becoming the city lord of Desolate City. Not only was Fang Jingxiang a pseudo-core expert, but he also cultivated an ancient inheritance that was unique and violent. He was only a step away from many sect masters. There were even rumors that he possessed a secret technique that could summon a demon god from another world. This demon god was incomparably powerful and did not even fear golden core experts. The bronze chariot, warship, and cloud tower were also excavated by him from the ancient battlefield in the depths of Demon Cave Mountain. Their origins were mysterious and it was said that they might have been ridden by ancient gods. After tens of thousands of years, they were still mighty and their surging magic power had not diminished at all. They could withstand the continuous attacks of golden core experts and were terrifying to the extreme. Because Fang Jingxiang was born a bandit in Demon Cave Mountain and had once joined forces with Jiang Haishan to resist the beast stampede, their relationship was quite good. Before this, many people who did not know the truth thought that Fang Jingxiang was likely to watch from the sidelines and even secretly help Jiang Haishan. Who would have thought that he would be the first to arrive? How could everyone not be shocked and not be surprised? The news of Desolate City sending troops to Jade Well Peak caused quite a commotion. Many leaders and elites of the famous sects rushed to the scene as fast as lightning, or craned their necks to watch and pay close attention. Demon Cave Mountain is already in a state of disunity. It's over. A wise person who was watching from the sidelines said decisively after understanding the details. Initially, Jiang Haishan had the intention of unifying Demon Cave Mountain. However, Kang Taichu came and messed everything up. That's right. An expert agreed. I heard that Kang Taichu first killed the son of a peak master and crippled Chu Yonghui's cultivation, taking over his place. The 7 main peaks were already disunited to begin with. How could they withstand such torment? If Kang Taichu was smart, he would have softened his stance and won over the majority. However, he was too arrogant and caused everyone to betray him. If I'm not wrong, Jiang Haishan is probably the only one who supports him. A veteran legendary figure waved his folding fan gently, as if he was holding a pearl of wisdom. I heard that there used to be cities and sects supporting Demon Cave Mountain, but they've all withdrawn now. I heard that Kang Taichu is only at the 2nd level of the foundation establishment level. He only relied on pills to increase his cultivation. Someone mocked. How can he last like that? It's unsustainable and will cause endless harm. Look at him now. He doesn't even dare to come out. Only Jiang Haishan is cleaning up his mess. What a joke. Yeah, so what if he's the most powerful person on Earth? He's just an ant. How dare he be so arrogant in the heavenly star small world? He must be tired of living. Many people stood aside with disdain and mockery on their faces. In their eyes, Jiang Tian was like a clown wearing a monkey's hat. In front of Jade Well Peak, finally, under the escort of several masters, Jiang Haishan took a step forward, cupped his fists, and said in a humble tone, "City Lord Fang, why did you suddenly visit our Demon Cave Mountain? Why didn't you inform this brother so this brother could have prepared some wine and waited for you?" At this time, he was only standing on a flying sword. Compared to the giant war chariot, he was like a weak leaf. There was no reply from the war chariot for a long time. The entire sky was dead silent. Many cultivators and soldiers remained silent. Their serious faces were full of murderous intent and the atmosphere was extremely tense. This kind of pressure was unbearable. Many of the murderers on the Jade Well Peak were frightened at the moment. Their faces were pale and cold sweat was running down their backs. After a full minute, Then, dong! The sound of footsteps that shook people's hearts like a yellow bell rang out. Fang Jingqiang stood up and walked over step by step. He wore a bronze armor inscribed with profound patterns and a golden helmet on his head. Phoenix feathers that shot up to the sky swayed in the wind. He had a leopard head with round eyes and an ominous glint in his eyes. He was extraordinarily mighty and imposing. He carried a huge mace, and his tall and sturdy body was like a golden mountain or jade pillar. His surging blood-colored true essence was unrestrained, like a huge wave that soared into the sky, breaking through the clouds in the sky. He was like an ancient beast that could devour people at any time, exuding a terrifying aura. There seemed to be a strong smell of blood in the air, which made people's legs go soft. After all, he was not only a fake core overlord and the city lord of a giant city, but also a peerless villain who had once suppressed Demon Cave Mountain. Even though he had been in a high position for decades, he still couldn't hide his bloodthirsty aura. Brother Haishan, I'm not here to attack Demon Cave Mountain. I'm here to kill Kang Tae-chu. Fang Jingqiang's aura was monstrous, and his voice was like rolling thunder, shaking the void and shattering the clouds. He coldly said, as long as you retreat quickly, you and I have worked together to resist the beast tide. Even if you raise the flag of rebellion, I will let bygones be bygones. I will even plead for you in front of Master. If you are willing to join my border army to kill Kang Tae-chu, not only will you not be punished, you will also be rewarded. You will be supported by my border city and rewarded by the Heavenly Star Palace. Isn't that wonderful? As soon as these words came out, many people were surprised and shocked. It was rumored that Fang Jingqiang was not literate and was cruel and violent, but now it seemed that this was not the case at all. His words not only showed his tough attitude towards Jiang Tian, but also clarified the conflict between Kang Tae-chu and Demon Cave Mountain, dividing the Demon Cave Mountain camp and completely isolating Kang Tae-chu. It could be said that he was using both the carrot and the stick, mixing reason and emotion, advancing and retreating in a calculated manner. But on second thought, it was not strange. Fang Jingqiang was able to dominate a region, intimidate the border city, and was deeply trusted by Li Longyuan. How could he be a simple-minded person? Fang Jingqiang's words came out. The peak masters looked at each other, and Wu Xiufeng immediately walked into the border army camp and shouted, Kang Tae-chu once killed my beloved son. My peak and Kang Tae-chu are irreconcilable. We are willing to submit to border city and kill Kang Tae-chu together. Soon after, the peak masters, mountain masters, cave masters, and heroic warriors successively expressed their stance, leading the crowd of heroes to clearly state their stance and follow Wu Xiufeng into the border city camp. With this, the situation took a turn for the worse. Among the 7 main peaks of Demon Cave Mountain, only Jiang Tian's faction was left supporting Jiang Tian. In the border army camp, Wu Xiuda looked around and laughed complacently. Kang Tae-chu has repeatedly stirred up a storm of blood and lost the support of the people. Today, everyone has betrayed him. This is really retribution. Serves him right. Serves him right. He shouted haughtily, Jiang Haishan, are you still obsessed with going about things the wrong way? I advise you to abandon the darkness and join the light as soon as possible. Otherwise, you won't be able to keep your life. Kang Tae-chu, are you finally afraid? Where are you hiding? Hurry up and come out to die. Come, let me see what kind of monstrous ability you have to be our enemy. Chapter 922. Jiang Haishan's face was pale and cold sweat was dripping from his forehead. He then smiled bitterly. Kang Tae-chu did come to Demon Cave Mountain, but he went to travel 3 days ago. He's not here at all. He knew that he was no match for the army, so he could only stall for time. When Jiang Tian heard the news, he would probably run away immediately. He would not underestimate Jiang Tian because of this. At this time, there was a huge gap between the strong and the weak. He could not be reckless, but he had to be rational and preserve his strength. As the saying goes, a single spark can start a prairie fire. As long as the fire was still there, Jiang Tian was talented and cultivated hard for 10 years. He still had a chance to turn the tables. Ha, it seems that Kang Tae-chu is not a fool. He knew that he was no match for City Lord Fang, so he ran away. Since he's not a fool, why did he come to Heavenly Star Small World? Now, his reputation has been destroyed. He probably became smart after coming to Heavenly Star Small World. He must have been a fool before. As soon as these words were said, the crowd laughed in disdain and many cultivators showed sarcastic expressions. Don't you know what is in the light and what is in the dark? Before he finished speaking, Chow Meng, a 9th-level Foundation establishment elder of Jin Song Feng, had already stepped forward angrily. Li Longyuan made the lives of the entire Heavenly Star Small World worthless and the people are living in poverty. You're shameless to the extreme and you're not worthy to be his lackeys. Tisk. Little Fang, don't be so arrogant. Your father was a famous hero who killed corrupt officials and suppressed tyrants. I'm not as shameless as you, working for a tyrant. I'll kill you. He stepped on his flying sword and instantly broke the sound barrier. He turned into a black stream of light and rushed toward the ancient warship. Fang Jingxiang glanced at him disdainfully and snorted coldly. A mere Foundation establishment stage ant dares to provoke this city lord. Die. Before he finished speaking, he raised his hand and grabbed at Chow Meng. Boom. A gigantic palm that was about 100 meters long appeared out of nowhere. It was overflowing with blood and qi, and there were skeletons floating within it. The mournful howls and screams of the skeletons could be heard for dozens of miles, making people's hair stand on end. The bloody palm blotted out the sky and came down. It was unknown how many cultivators it had devoured in the past. Blood-transforming mantis sovereign palm. The most powerful demonic art. Many people's expressions changed drastically when they saw this, and they cried out in alarm. This was an ancient scroll that Fang Jingxiang had found in the ruins of the Demon Cave Mountain's ancient battlefield. Previously, it had killed countless experts and possessed terrifying might. Break! Elder Chow Meng was enraged. He slapped the back of his head and spat out a short sword. Tens of thousands of cold lights burst out from the short sword. Amidst the clanging sounds, it transformed into a huge sword about 10 meters long and slashed towards the huge palm. Bang! Although this elder had used his lifetime's ultimate skill, he was still no match for Fang Jingxiang's strike. The sword instantly shattered, and he was sent flying like a kite with a broken string. All the bones in his body were broken, and he spat out blood. This elder used to be the sect master of a small sect that rebelled against the Heavenly Star Palace. After his sect was destroyed, he fled to the Demon Cave Mountain and was protected by Jiang Haishan. He was one of the top experts of the Golden Pine Peak and was not far from Jiang Haishan. Aunt, you want to challenge the city lord? You're simply courting death. Fang Jingxiang sneered with a disdainful expression. The elder summoned his flying sword and barely stabilized his body. His battle intent surged as he roared, even if I die, I'll still fight you. As you wish. Fang Jingxiang's eyes were cold as he raised his hand and pointed. Pa! With a bang, a blood rainbow pierced through the sky and pierced through the elder's head in the blink of an eye. Heavenly Execution Li Longyuan. He's a tyrant and a demon who whipped the heroes and plundered the world. I won't let him go even if I become a ghost. If the people don't fear death, why should they fear death? Elder Chow Meng's body suddenly stiffened. He was restrained by the blood qi, but he was fearless. He ignored the blood light and scanned the crowd as he shouted with all his might. Everyone knew that in just 1 second, this elder's head would explode and his body would turn into a rain of sparkling flesh that would no longer exist in this world. The entire place was deathly silent. Many people stood there in a daze, their hearts filled with mixed feelings. Of all the experts present, even those from the border cities, which one had not been bullied and humiliated by the Heavenly Star Palace and Li Longyuan? Of all the sects and factions in the world, which one had not had a few people killed by Li Longyuan and his henchmen? However, most people were afraid of death. Those who knew that they were no match but still dared to fight, and those who dared to sacrifice their lives for justice, were in the minority. A bad life was better than a good death. Most people chose to be slaves or servants, even if they lived like pigs or dogs, but they still did not dare to resist. Jiang Haishan's face was sorrowful as he closed his eyes, unable to bear to watch the tragic scene that would follow. Ha! This is the result of resisting the heavenly star palace and provoking the lord of the border cities. Ignorant of the times. In the crowd, only Wu Xiuda gritted his teeth and laughed. But suddenly, a flying sword, like a green flowing light, soared through the air and cut the blood rainbow in half with a swoosh. Bang! The blood rainbow exploded uncontrollably, dyeing the sky in a radius of a few miles red. It was shocking. What a sharp flying sword! Who can break Fang Jingxiang's blood-transforming Mantis Emperor's blood rainbow? Wu Xiuda's laughter came to an abrupt stop as he revealed a stunned expression. The entire place was filled with exclamations. Many people clicked their tongues in wonder, shocked and stunned as if they had seen a ghost. Even Fang Jingxiang revealed a somewhat serious and surprised expression. His bell-like eyes swept the surroundings, shooting out a frightening cold light. Swish! Almost in the blink of an eye, in front of the huge warship, a figure like the sun broke free from the sea and rose slowly. Jiang Tian, dressed in white, with his black hair fluttering like a waterfall, ascended to the sky, emitted thousands of golden lights, and faced Fang Jingxiang directly. Kang Teichu. Kang Teichu didn't run away. Wu Xiuda was full of disbelief, and then his face was full of ridicule. Humph, you don't know what's good for you. He is Kang Teichu, the strongest person on earth who killed the Qing Xian sect disciple. It's him who killed the blue-eyed toad. He dares to come out and fight. He's courting death. At this moment, many people looked up with complicated emotions in their eyes. They were shocked and surprised. The army of the border city was pressing on the border, and the battle formation was earth-shattering. When Jiang Tian heard the news, he should have avoided the sharp edge, fled, and hid. It was extremely difficult for an ant from Earth to overthrow the Tianqing Palace, but he was killed by the enemy with a raise of his hand. The terrain of the Demon Cave Mountain was complicated, with thousands of mountains and thousands of peaks. The caves were like ant nests. If he hid, he could preserve his strength. That's great. He's come out. He's finally going to die. Only Wu Xiuda, Chu Yunxiu, Chu Yonghui, and the others were gloating. Jiang Tian looked calm. He stood in front of Jiang Haishan and the others and said, "Send Elder Chao back to heal. You're no match for him. I'll fight with them." In the crowd of spectators, Goddess Miao Yi covered her face with a white veil, and her eyes were full of sorrow and regret. Kang Teichu, why are you so arrogant and don't know when to stop? The fight for the Great Tao needed to be like a 100-foot pole. It needed to be like water droplets piercing through stone, slowly and cautiously. The path of cultivation is a competition of talent, perseverance, and perseverance. In another 100 years, you might be able to catch up to Li Longyuan. But now, you're still young and your foundation is shallow. It's too unwise to fight head-on. She suddenly tore off her veil and stepped forward on her sword. She smiled and said, "I'm Miao Yi, a disciple of Goddess Miaoyu from the Heartless sect. Greetings, City Lord Fang." Whoosh! The moment she revealed her true appearance, the thousands of spectators and tens of thousands of soldiers were all shaken, and they all gasped in amazement. Goddess Miao Yi, a top overlord on the prodigy roll and the eldest disciple of the Heartless sect. She's so beautiful. She's otherworldly and incomparably beautiful. Watching her is like drinking heavenly wine. This woman was like a snow lotus on the heavenly mountain. She was as pure as ice and as beautiful as jade. She exuded a celestial aura that could shake people's hearts and make them want to only watch her from afar. Why did this little vixen come out? Is she trying to seduce my husband? Even Hong Yu, who was famous for her beauty, felt somewhat jealous and ashamed of her inferiority when she saw her on the warship. Why are you looking for me? Fang Jingxiang looked at Miao Yi and shook his head. Her breasts were too small and not sexy enough. Under everyone's gaze, Goddess Miao Yi came to the front of the warship. She cupped her fists at Fang Jingxiang and said respectfully, City Lord Fang, this immortal Janine saved my life at the Blackwater Lake. My sect owes him a great debt. It was true that Jiang Tian had saved her, but it would be an exaggeration to say that he was a great debt to the Heartless sect. However, she was still too far away from a city lord like Fang Jingxiang. She could only use the name of Fang Jingxiang. She begged, City Lord Fang, can you give the Heartless sect some face and stop the war? Let Kang Teichu go this time. The Heartless sect will definitely repay you. Kang Teichu, so you rely on women? You're living off women. Fang Jingxiang shook his head and ignored her. He stared at Jiang Tian with a sneer. This girl was too naive. It was not as simple as me wanting to kill Kang Teichu. It was Li Longyuan who wanted him dead. In this world, who would dare to challenge Li Longyuan's authority, let alone an ant from Earth? Not to mention, he had killed his son. Even if your master, Priestess Desireless, interceded, there would be no room for negotiation. I have never relied on women. I'm here today to fight you. Jiang Tian smiled faintly. Instantly, Goddess Miao Yi's face turned pale. She sent a voice transmission to Fang Jingxiang, almost pleading, Kang Teichu, I'm begging you. Just run. Fang Jingxiang is not someone you can afford to offend. Li Longyuan is not someone you can afford to offend. Fang Jingxiang was not just a fake core cultivator. What was even more terrifying was that he had obtained some ancient Dharma artifacts from the mysterious ruins. They could even be used by perfected immortals or fiend celestials. They could be considered immortal artifacts. In terms of cultivation, you're only at the early stage of foundation establishment. The difference between you and others is huge. In terms of foundation, he has the inheritance of an exalted immortal supreme treasure and the technique to summon fiend celestials. How can you be his match? Jiang Tian did not reply. On the bronze warship, Li Hongyu took a few steps forward to the side of the ship. She stood with her arms akimbo and her brows furrowed. She pointed at Jiang Tian and scolded, Kang Teichu, you ant. How dare you kill my brother, Li Liang? You don't know what's good for you. Today, I'll tear you into pieces. Miao Yi, get back here. Our desolate border city will not give face to anyone. Chapter 923. Women shouldn't interrupt when men are fighting. Get lost. Jiang Tian said calmly. Boom. A monstrous aura spread out in all directions, and Fairy Miao Yi was instantly pushed hundreds of meters away. Li Hongyu's face was pale from the shock. She staggered a few steps back and almost spat out a mouthful of blood. Fairy Miao Yi's face turned red, and tears rolled down her cheeks. She felt wronged, disappointed, and angry. Today, she could be said to have forsaken her pride to plead for mercy for Jiang Tian. When the news reached the sect, she would even be heavily reprimanded by her master. However, all she got in return was a cold, get lost. Jiang Tian smiled faintly, looked at Fang Jingxiang with disdain, and said, You dog, this Jadewell Peak is my, Jiang Taichu's, territory. Who allowed you to bring a group of puppies here and bark wildly? Kowtow and admit your mistake. Boom. Everyone was shocked by Jiang Tian's words. This Kang Teichu was too arrogant. He really didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. He actually called Fang Jingxiang a dog. He called the desolate border army dogs. The desolate border army was full of brave and ruthless people. How could they be humiliated like this? Beside the Willow Shade River. It's over now. They're definitely going to fight. The Qiao siblings and the stinky monkey looked worried as if they were facing a great enemy. However, they could only be anxious. In a battle of this level, they couldn't help at all. They would be cannon fodder. Sigh, cannon fodder. Yi Tianren looked calm and even sympathized with Fang Jingqiang. I'm going to find a chance to eat him. This guy's meat is so tough. It should be similar to yak meat. The large black dog was very excited. He grabbed a pack of spicy strips and chewed. Saliva flowed from his mouth, and his eyes were full of anticipation. Chu Yunxiu laughed happily. Ha, the desolate border army is here. Fang Jingqiang is here. Kang Teichu still dares to provoke him like this. That bastard is finally dead. She narrowed her eyes and mocked him with disdain. Unfortunately, he still doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth even when death is at hand, and he still dares to speak nonsense, causing Fang Jingqiang to be furious. That's a fake Dan expert we're talking about. I'm afraid that evil bastard will be torn to shreds. Shut up, bitch. At the side, when Jiang Yunhe heard this, his heart was in turmoil as he loudly shouted in anger. Chu Yunxiu retorted with a sneer, Jiang Yunhe, your Jiang clan has no foresight and followed the wrong person. Kang Teichu is but an ant from earth, an abandoned person from the wasteland. What's laughable is that you all treat him like a god. She held her head high and regained her sense of superiority. Soon, you will be finished. How dare you disrespect me? Kneel down and lick my toes. If I'm in a good mood, I might plead for you in front of City Lord Fang. Damn it. While I can still hit you now, I'll beat you up to satisfy my craving. Jiang Yunhe was furious and impatient. He kicked Chu Yunxiu to the ground, raised his fist, and fiercely hammered her. He was having a great time beating her up when suddenly, an enormous pressure like Mount Tai came crashing down on him. It actually sent him flying several meters away. This fiend deserves to die. In the sky, after Jiang Tian's voice fell, the tens of thousands of soldiers of the desolate border army roared in unison and stabbed the poles of their long swords and spears into the ground. Suddenly, an extremely strong killing intent, carrying a bloodthirsty smell, spread across several thousand meters and rolled out like raging waves beating the shore. Rumble. The soldiers and cultivators of Jadewell Peak and Golden Pine Peak were blown into a complete mess. They were like fallen leaves in a gale, powerlessly floating backwards. The entire Jadewell Peak shook violently with creaking sounds, as if it was about to completely collapse. Even Jiang Haishan and a few other elders were forced to stagger back a few steps by the violent pressure, their hearts overwhelmed with shock. Fang Jingqiang was indeed extraordinary. He was good at managing the army. The killing intent and strength of the desolate border army were astonishing. Even if he didn't come personally, he could probably break through Jadewell Peak and Golden Pine Peak, or even sweep through the entire Demon Cave Mountain. However, Jiang Tian, who bore the brunt of it, was like a spring breeze caressing his face. He was calm and collected, and even his clothes were not lifted. Fang Jingqiang's face was ashen. He stared coldly at Jiang Tian and raised his hand. Behind him, the tens of thousands of soldiers immediately stopped shouting. The entire battlefield was restored to a deathly silence and austere. Fang Jingqiang looked at Jiang Tian with a face full of disdain and shouted in a deep voice, Earth's ants are weak like insects, but they are so ignorant and arrogant. Today, I will kill you as a warning to the world, warning the world of the serious consequences of provoking the Heavenly Star Palace. Before he finished speaking, he stepped into the air, like a furious dragon emerging from the sea or a fierce tiger emerging from the dragon. His figure shot into the sky like a heavy cannon. Go to hell. Fang Jingqiang's roar was like a falling jade pillar, his power was endless. He took advantage of the falling momentum and smashed down with the mace in his hand. In a blink, the energy of the city lord was unleashed. The energy of a fake core overlord poured down like a river, suppressing the space within a 10-kilometer radius. On Jadewell Peak, countless towering trees were snapped and toppled in an instant. Huge boulders flew into the air and then crashed down with a loud crash. The next second, they were all crushed and turned into powder under the violent pressure. Countless monsters and creatures within a 12-kilometer radius were startled. Some ran in all directions and some crawled on the ground, trembling. Jiang Haishan and the others couldn't even stand in front of the powerful energy. They were blown back like leaves and almost fell from the sky. As for the transcendent state and immortal state warriors, they couldn't resist at all. Hundreds of martial artists were affected by the powerful attack, they spurted out blood and were seriously injured. Fang Jingqiang only attacked once, but it had the power to destroy cities and mountains, forcing Jiang Haishan and the others to retreat. Huh, so powerful. City Lord Fang is so domineering. I'm willing to be his concubine. At the foot of the mountain, Chu Yunxiu laughed crazily and shouted, Kang Te Chu, you bastard. How would you know what we're relying on? Fang Jingqiang, you're still too weak. At this moment, Jiang Tian was as still as a rock. He raised his white right hand and flicked his finger. Bang! Jiang Tian's fingers, which were even thinner than a girl's, flicked the mace made of black bronze essence. An astonishing scene appeared. Under Jiang Tian's finger, the spiked club that had once killed countless cultivators was now like tofu. First, a crack appeared on it, and then the crack spread like a spider web. In the next second, it shattered into pieces. What? Fang Jingqiang only felt that the mace in his hand had shattered. He couldn't help but be shocked and alert. Then, a sharp vital essence shot out from Jiang Tian's fingertip like an arrow and pierced Fang Jingqiang's chest. Block it. Fang Jingqiang dodged and hurriedly retreated like a shooting star. The finger light brushed past the heart protection mirror. Boom! The heart protection mirror released a blazing red light, which turned into a red Qilin phantom. It bared its fangs and brandished its claws, trying to block it. But it was useless. Boom! The Qilin phantom was directly shattered by the finger light, turning into streaks of red flowing light and dissipating in the air. Then, Chi! There was a sharp sound. A deep mark was left on the heart protection mirror by the finger light, and it burst into dazzling sparks. Fang Jingqiang's body shook violently as if he had been struck by lightning. His face was pale, and he almost spat out a mouthful of blood. Whoosh! Fang Jingqiang retreated a few hundred meters before stabilizing himself. He looked at Jiang Tian in disbelief with a fearful expression. He obtained the mace and armor from the ancient ruin and they could be considered as numinous treasures. The mace contained the spirit of a wolf while the bronze armor was protected by the spirit of a Qilin. The Qilin was one of the 9 sons of the true dragon and was an ancient auspicious beast with unbelievable might. But now, the Qilin's soul was so scared that it went dormant and refused to come out no matter how he called. The heart protection mirror was scorching hot from a single finger light from Jiang Tian. Its Dao patterns were destroyed and even partially melted. Jiang Tian attacked extremely quickly and many people couldn't see the details clearly. However, they could still see clearly that Fang Jingqiang's mace was shattered and he was sent flying a few hundred meters. Instantly, the entire place fell silent. Everyone was shaken to the core. Waves of shock rose in their hearts. They didn't dare to believe it. How is that possible? Fang Jingqiang is known as the human butcher and has never been defeated. How can he retreat? After a long while, Wu Xiuda, the peak master of Jishui Peak, screamed like a tomcat whose tail was stepped on. Kang Te Chu can defeat Fang Jingqiang with a single finger. Many peak masters were dumbfounded and could not believe it. They were so shocked that they could not say a word. How can this ant be so strong? Chu Yunxiu could no longer be excited. Her smile froze on her face and her beautiful eyes were wide open. The tens of thousands of people present were shocked and full of disbelief. They looked at Jiang Tian dumbfoundedly as if they had seen a ghost. Fuck, women have long hair and short eyes. He's nothing. If he meets the concealment master, he'll die. Jiang Yunhe shouted and cheered himself on. Good. Big brother Jiang is invincible. Beat this villain to death. Qiao Beishan and the stinky monkey cheered for Jiang Tian. Immortal Master Jiang is so powerful. He shattered the opponent's mace with a single finger. That's a numinous artifact. It seems that immortal Master Jiang's cultivation is definitely above the second level of the Foundation establishment realm. Maybe he can turn the tables. Many elders and hall masters of Jin Song Peak were also shocked. Their confidence was greatly boosted and they were so excited that their faces were red. It's not time for the final battle yet. Only Jiang Shanhai's face was still serious. He frowned and said, Fang Jingxiang's demonic art can summon the demon god. That's the most terrifying thing. He didn't use it just now. Kang Te Chu, you can actually shatter my bronze mace. You can actually shatter my precious armor. Fang Jingxiang exclaimed in disbelief. At this time, his face was full of fear and he did not dare to underestimate Jiang Tian at all. He thought that Jiang Tian was just a little white rabbit that he could crush easily, but suddenly he became a tyrannosaurus that was ready to devour people at any time. Chapter 924. Are you suppressing your power on purpose? Are you also a false core cultivator? Fang Jingxiang scrutinized Jiang Tian carefully. But after a while, he shook his head. Impossible. This person couldn't be a false core cultivator. He must have used some kind of elixir or evil art to increase his power by force. He had many secret arts to detect the blood qi of the body, so he was sure that Jiang Tian was no more than 30 years old. There weren't many people who could reach the false core level before 30 in the heavenly star small world, not to mention in the ruins of deity. I can't believe I didn't kill you with one finger. Jiang Tian stood with his hands behind his back and looked disappointed. He shook his head and sighed. You're too lucky. Ant from Earth, don't be so arrogant. Fang Jingxiang was so angry that his lungs almost exploded. Ignorant kid, you don't know how powerful I am. I haven't even used 1/10 of my strength. My 8 arms demon god technique, my magical equipment, can stomp you into meat paste in a matter of seconds. He glared at Jiang Tian with his bell-sized eyes, as if his eyes were about to split open. He pointed at Jiang Tian and roared like a thunderclap. The violent sound waves almost made people's eardrums explode. The blood in their chests was boiling. 8 arms fiend art. Ha, what kind of rubbish is that? I've traveled the universe and killed all kinds of fiend gods. Jiang Tian smiled in disdain, looking calm and unhurried. Bring out the altar. Fang Jingxiang shouted. Yes. On the ancient bronze chariot of Border City, many soldiers in golden armor pushed out a white bone altar that was 5 meters wide and floated in front of Fang Jingxiang. Retreat. Following Fang Jingxiang's order, the ancient battleships, chariots, and towers backed away like a tide. They only came to a stop 10 li away. Only the war chariot of Border City, where the white bone altar was placed, remained motionless. Many of the desolate border soldiers revealed complicated expressions of fear and fascination. At this moment, Fang Jingxiang's angry expression instantly vanished and revealed a devout and respectful expression. His hands formed ancient and profound hand seals, and his lips moved quickly as he chanted. On top of the huge human bone altar, there was a wooden statue of an 8-armed deity. Countless yellow talisman papers were stuck on it, fluttering in the wind. The talisman paper had numerous curved talisman markings that were shaped like tadpoles or strange snakes, and they were extremely profound and obscure. They were extremely dark red, and they were actually carved with human blood. Fang Jingxiang's mouth didn't move much, but the sky was filled with a loud and obscure devil language. As the demonic chanting became more and more urgent, the ancient worship was filled with black fog that engulfed the surroundings. Demonic qi was overflowing. Gradually, Fang Jingxiang seemed to have established a connection with another world, using himself as a bridge to communicate with the demon god. All of a sudden, a blood-red light burst out from the white bone altar, covering the sky and the sun like a red sunset. It shrouded the huge war chariot and illuminated the area within a radius of 10 miles as if it was dyed in blood. The blood-red light burst out from the white bone altar and shot up to 1,000 feet into the sky. Crackling lightning lingered around it and burst out in all directions. The lightning hit the top of the Jade Well Peak and melted the ice and snow. Even the stones on the peak were turned into dust and rolled down. The lightning surrounded the blood-red light and formed a giant lightning net that moved with a crackling sound. A surge of demonic energy suddenly gathered toward the white bone altar and bombarded the wooden statue. The statue suddenly began to expand and cracks appeared on it. Its aura became stronger and more terrifying. Retreat quickly. He's starting to summon the devil. Everyone, retreat quickly. Tai Chu, fellow cultivator, why don't we avoid the attack? Jiang Haishan shouted, and his expression changed drastically. The 8 arms demonic god art was too terrifying. It had the power to destroy the world. Fang Jingxiang had once killed several peak fake core stage overlords by relying on it. Everyone also lost their composure and panicked. They stepped on their flying swords and retreated as fast as shooting stars. Even so, more than a dozen Foundation establishment stage overlords were still struck by the lightning and turned into ashes. Interesting. This world has actually produced demonic creatures before. Are they the ones who invaded the ancient earth? Jiang Tian looked at Fang Jingxiang and the altar with interest. His expression was calm. Although the demonic god was called a god, it was only because it was powerful and had divine powers. Its nature was still that of a devil. Gods were in charge of life and creation, while demons were in charge of death and destruction. In the cultivation world, they were widely distributed and occupied many realms. At this moment, Fang Jingxiang shouted and spat out a mouthful of blood on the wooden statue. Boom! The latter immediately exploded, and an 8-armed, 4-faced demonic god that was hundreds of feet tall suddenly appeared in the void. This demonic god was incomparably tall, like a giant mountain in the sky. Its 8 arms held 8 treasures, including a guqin, a pearl, a bow, an arrow, a skull, a bone, a spear, and a 1,000-layer pagoda. The 4 faces all revealed ferocious expressions as they grinned hideously. Insects from this inferior world, delicious insects, prepare to receive the wrath of the 8-armed great demon god. You can be eaten again. His saliva flowed down like a stream. At the same time, the guqin in his hand turned into rolling demonic sounds and rushed toward Jiang Tian like a raging wave. When everyone saw this, their hearts palpitated, and they found it difficult to breathe. Almost at the same time, everyone felt that their Taoist heart was seriously disturbed by the demonic sounds. They only felt that their inner demons and distracting thoughts were stirring. Young Master Jiang, don't fight. Why do you have to? Why don't you come to my room? Fairy Miao Yi's eyes flashed and her face blushed. Her voice was soft and seductive. Only after she spoke did she realize that she had lost her composure. She was so embarrassed that she quickly bit the tip of her tongue and shouted. She recited the heart-cleansing spell to suppress the demonic thoughts in her heart. Middle-stage and late-stage Foundation establishment cultivators could withstand it, but early-stage Foundation establishment cultivators could not withstand it at all. Come on, young man, let's be embarrassed together. Beside the willow tree, Chu Yunxiu leaned against a bluestone. Her clothes were half undone, and her shoulders were exposed. She giggled and looked at the stinky monkey. The stinky monkey's eyes were dazed, and he staggered over. I've been full of yang qi since I was young. I can indeed do some embarrassing things with my sister. The big black dog ignored him and slapped Chu Yunxiu to the ground. He looked up at the sky and said, "Little hussy, what are you mumbling about? Don't disturb me from watching the show." Insect? In my eyes, you're the insect. Not to mention that you're just an 8-armed demonic god's soul clone. Even if you came personally, I could kill you with a raise of my hand. In the sky above Jadewell Peak, Jiang Tian's face was as calm as still water. His eyes were contemptuous as he sneered. This 8-armed demonic god did not belong to this world. It was just a remnant of a soul clone. For thousands of years, it was not nourished by demonic qi. Moreover, it was old and weak, and its soul was weak. It should have died long ago. In order to preserve this demonic god, Fang Jingxiang killed living people every day and sacrificed souls to maintain this demonic god's body. But to be honest, although this demonic god's cultivation was higher, its physique was far inferior to Niaming Yuan's demon body of purgatory. Jiang Tian had at least dozens of methods to kill it in seconds. Ghost transferring god dispatching talisman, demon vanquishing incantation, or directly devouring it with soul devourer's divine sense. Die, vermin. The eight-armed demonic god was furious. Its four faces showed ferocious anger, and its four mouths roared in unison. Their voices shook the surroundings. Then, it soared into the sky. Its 8 arms grabbed artifacts and danced like an octopus. All kinds of weapons and artifacts smashed toward Jiang Tian. Boom! As soon as it attacked, the whole sky seemed to collapse. Violent demonic chi and energy pushed in all directions. Suddenly, rocks from the surrounding peaks soared into the sky. Then, under the violent pressure, they turned into dust. Even Jadewell Peak began to show cracks like a spider web. The mountain trembled violently, and the protective formation seemed to collapse. Even though everyone was 10 miles away, they still felt suffocated and were sent flying in all directions. Evil demonic way. Jiang Tian roared. The sky-devouring demonic gourd at his waist jumped wildly, and a flying sword broke through the sky. The speed of this flying sword was incomparably fast. In the blink of an eye, it had reached his neck and circled around his head 4 times. Suddenly, 4 huge heads fell like meteorites. The mountain-like demonic body stiffened in the air. Everyone was shocked. Chu Yunxiu, Wu Xiuda, Li Hongyu, and the others were shocked and fearful. Got it. Yi Tianren, the Qiao siblings, the Stinky Monkey, and Jiang Haishan, who had retreated to Jadewell Peak, were all delighted. But in the next moment, everyone's faces were filled with astonishment. Not bad. The 4 heads that fell in the air sneered. Suddenly, they grinned and mocked, but this body is not what you think. Whoosh! 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 The 4 huge demonic heads flew toward the neck and healed in the blink of an eye. This body is just a statue of a demonic god. Even if you cut off my head 100 times, you can't do anything to me. Boom! He smiled ferociously and stretched out his hand. He grabbed a 300-meter-high mountain and smashed it toward Jiang Tian like a sledgehammer. This scene was too shocking. This demonic god grabbed a mountain and used it as a weapon, trying to smash Jiang Tian to death with its surging strength. The mountain was like a cloud in the sky, covering the sky and casting a large shadow on the ground. It weighed more than 10 million tons. When it smashed down, the rocks on it rumbled and rolled down. The 8-armed, 4-faced demonic god attacked. He was indomitable and filled with demonic chi. He grabbed a mountain and used it as a weapon to smash down with the power of heaven and earth. Such a powerhouse could probably tear apart a huge city in 10 breaths of time. Who would dare to stop him? Who could resist? This demonic god is so powerful that it's terrifying. The tens of thousands of people present were shocked. Countless people's eyes almost popped out of their sockets. They were filled with disbelief. Really? If 100 times is not enough, then 10,000 times. Jiang Tian smiled and patted the sky-devouring demonic gourd. First, 9 flying swords flew out, flashing with cold light and white frost. Suddenly, the silver bottle with surging sword light burst out like water, and the remaining 99,900 and 9,900 flying swords burst out. The flying swords flew across the sky. 1 sword was in front, followed by 2 swords. Then there were 4 swords, 8 swords, and 16 swords. The more flying swords there were, the larger the sword formation became. The whole formation was a huge cone with a radius of 1 mile. The tips of the swords spun rapidly, and thousands of cold light shone over several miles, forming a huge, drill sword style. Whoosh! With a bang, it was like a tsunami. Thousands of flying swords covered the sky and the sun. They were invincible and pierced toward the 8-armed demonic god in the mountain. At this moment, everyone looked at Jiang Tian in horror. They felt as if they had fallen into an ice cellar, and cold sweat covered their backs. Chapter 925. Tens of thousands of flying swords surged like a tide, crossing the sky like a heavenly river. Everyone was dumbfounded. This, what kind of cultivation does this kid have? Many people's faces were filled with shock and disbelief. The tens of thousands of people present were dumbfounded. The desolate wilderness soldiers were scared out of their wits. Even Fang Jingqiang was stunned, cold sweat crawling up his back. This scene was too shocking. Jiang Tian was controlling 10,000 flying swords in one breath. It was too frightening. Each flying sword emitted a metallic luster, condensed and sharp, bursting with sword radiance. Such heavy flying swords made of special metals, such vast sword qi, such an astonishing number. Jiang Tian's vital essence was surging and vigorous. Fake core. He might not even have reached the golden core realm. Then give it a try, vermin. The eight-armed demon god roared. His four thick arms swung the huge mountain peak and collided with the flying swords. Suddenly, bang bang bang. Flames splashed in the sky and huge rocks flew. The mountain peak trembled violently with smoke and dust billowing. Even though the eight-armed demon god had a special physique and infinite strength, he could not bear it. Roar! Ouch 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 ouch! The eight-armed demon god looked up to the sky and cried out in pain. His four arms were bleeding and his skin was torn open. In the end, he abandoned many of his weapons and grabbed the mountain peak with his 8 arms to stabilize himself. However, his arms were still in pain and numb from the shock. Suddenly, the 8-armed demon god felt his arms lighten. Many flying swords had pierced through the mountain peak, flickering with a vicious cold light. They were like a school of shining fish in the deep sea, densely packed and spinning, drilling into his chest. Damn it! Endless heavenly demon. The 8-armed demon god was shocked. He roared like a thunderclap, and his demonic chi and energy surged. Boom boom boom. The air trembled as black demonic chi broke through the clouds. He stretched out all 8 of his arms, punching, grabbing, pushing, and crossing his arms in an attempt to block the many sword chis. Bang bang bang. First, the demon god's thick palms and arms broke off inch by inch. Then, a flying sword continued to rush forward and drilled into his chest. Suddenly, blood gushed out like a tide, and red flesh rained down. Devil chi mixed with white broken bones shot out in all directions like arrows. Huff! The tens of thousands of flying swords disappeared into its stomach. The 8-armed demon god stood motionlessly in the air. The entire place was deathly silent. Everyone felt as if they were dreaming, unable to regain their senses for a long time. The 8-armed demonic god, using a mountain peak as a weapon, and tens of thousands of flying swords streaking across the sky. Everything that had happened today was too shocking. Then, chi chi chi. Tens of thousands of sharp flying swords shot out from all parts of the 8-armed demon god's body in a bloody mist and shot in all directions. These flying swords were personally designed by Jiang Tian. When Qiao Beishan and the others were forging them, Jiang Tian supervised and guided the entire process. They were all engraved with many profound runes that contained powerful magic power. Every time the sharp sword pierced through and flew out, it would take away a large amount of the 8-armed demon god's blood essence, energy, mana, and even mental energy. The 8-armed demon god's body was instantly riddled with holes like a sieve. Devil chi and blood flowed out uncontrollably. His body began to collapse inch by inch. He muttered gloomily, "This kid is so strong. The energy of this doppelganger has been used up. Demon summoner, you deal with him yourself. I've disappeared." Then, his body exploded with a bang. Even his consciousness and devil chi disappeared in the air. Whoosh! 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 Tens of thousands of swords streaked across the sky like silver fish and flew back into Jiang Tian's sky-devouring demonic gourd. What? Great demon god, don't go. Help me. Fang Jingqiang's face was full of disbelief. He panicked and shouted loudly, constantly chanting the demon language. But unfortunately, no matter what he did, the white bone altar remained motionless. The eight-armed demon god never appeared again. At this time, everyone was shocked. At this moment, the scene was so quiet that even the sound of a needle dropping could be heard. Everyone was dumbfounded. Their faces were full of shock and disbelief. An ant from Earth, a second-level Foundation establishment cultivator, was able to defeat the almighty demon god. Even if it was only a doppelganger of his divine soul, it still made people feel as if they were dreaming. It was unbelievable. That's impossible. Wu Xiuda's face was pale. He frowned and said with a trembling voice, "He's just a lowly person from Earth. How could he defeat the demon god? Is Kang Taichu really that powerful? Does he really have the combat ability of a fake core cultivator?" The other peak masters who had surrendered changed their expressions. For the first time, they doubted whether their decision was right. He must have taken some elixirs to forcefully increase his cultivation level. It can't last long. He can't hold on much longer. Chu Yunxiu was greatly shocked. Her face was pale and her eyes were crazy. She tried to comfort herself. Could it be that I've underestimated him? Did Master make a mistake? Does he have the ability to defeat Fang Jingqiang and the border army? Fairy Miao Yi's eyes were also wide open. Her face was full of disbelief, as if she had met Jiang Tian for the first time. However, Yi Tianren glanced at the chariots with a solemn expression and said, "That's right. I'm afraid Fang Jingqiang is going to give it his all. His advantage lies in his 10,000 soldiers." A city lord like Fang Jingqiang was actually far less powerful than those top sect masters. However, why was he able to stand shoulder to shoulder with him, speak as equals, dominate an area, intimidate the desolate border? It was because of his 10,000 soldiers and the strength of numbers. It was because of the many buildings, chariots, armors, heavy cannons, crossbows and other powerful Dharma artifacts. Sure enough, Fang Jingqiang's face was full of murderous intent. He raised his hand and shouted, "Good men of the border, listen to my order. All troops, advance and kill this bastard for me. I'll reward you handsomely. Good men, for the sake of justice, kill the enemy. Today, we'll eliminate the evil and protect the heavenly star small world together." Li Hongyu pointed her slender finger at Jiang Tian and shouted. At this time, the woman had changed into a military uniform. She was wearing golden armor and a golden helmet, and the peacock plume on her head was swaying. The armor was very fitting, making her waist slim and her chest high. It also made her look valiant and high-spirited. She was not inferior to men. She walked to a huge war drum and took the drumstick from the soldier's hand. Dong! 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 She was originally from a brothel. She was beautiful and talented. She danced gracefully while beating the drum, and the rhythm was extremely moving. For the vicissitudes of justice. Countless soldiers of the border roared together and beat the war drum. They drove the chariots, warships, and buildings to crush Jiang Tian. Many chariots, battleships, and cloud towers covered the sky. The power alchemy furnaces took in and spat out huge amounts of spiritual energy, crushing the air and emitting endless golden light. They quickly flew over and suppressed Jiang Tian. Ha, good. This is the power of the border army. Even a fake core cultivator will be crushed into meat paste. Seeing this scene, Chu Yunxiu was shocked and fascinated. She regained her confidence and looked at Jiang Tian in the sky as if he were an ant. Tai Chu, retreat to the protective array. They have thunder cannons. They have heaven-shaking crossbows. Jiang Haishan's expression changed drastically. He ordered people to activate the protective arrays and sent a message to Jiang Tian. It's over. The army is going to move out. This barren city is too ruthless. At this time, in the fortifications of the Jade Well Peak, the leader of the Booming Sky mercenaries was as pale as paper. He was so scared that his legs were shaking. The Booming Sky mercenaries were one of the top mercenary groups in the Demon Cave Mountain. They were made up of more than 100 late-stage chi refinement and immortal state warriors. They had a brilliant record and rich combat experience. This time, he was invited by Jiang Haishan to fight side by side with Jin Songfeng of the Jade Well Peak. But at this moment, they were as vulnerable as ants compared to the regular army of the border. "They're serious. I shouldn't have taken this job." The leader of the Flying Rainbow Bounty, the hunters, were also shocked and regretted it so much that he almost cried. The army moved out and the giant bronze warships flew across the sky. Thousands of cannons were fired at the same time. Who could withstand such an attack? Boom, boom, boom. At the front of the border army, 50 bronze warships took the lead. When they were 5 kilometers away from Jiang Tian, they suddenly turned sideways and aimed at Jiang Tian and the Jade Well Peak. The windows on one side opened, revealing many bronze warships. Instantly, a myriad of cannons rang out, and many cannonballs that were shrouded in electromagnetic lightning shot toward Jiang Tian. On the 100 chariots behind the battleship, 1,000 Divine Realm warriors pulled their crossbows to the fullest. Creak! 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 Screech! Screech! In the next moment, as the bowstring that was flashing with golden light vibrated and bounced back, huge arrows that were like long spears shot up into the sky, drawing a perfect parabola in the air. They were as fast as flowing lights and as dense as raindrops, shooting heavily towards Jiang Tian. These arrows were engraved with many patterns and had powerful Dharma powers. Each of them was a Dharma treasure and could penetrate an immortal state warrior or a late-stage chi refinement cultivator. Moreover, there were tens of thousands of them. Even a golden core cultivator would be exhausted to death. And above the 10 towers at the back, there were 300 cultivators. They were all at the foundation establishment level, and there were many late-stage foundation establishment cultivators among them. There were men and women, old and young. They were all dressed differently. But all of them were serious and had extraordinary backgrounds. Some came from sects and sacred grounds, some were experienced itinerant cultivators who practiced evil arts, and some came from rich families and large families. The 10 towers were taller than the warships and chariots. They were as steep as mountains and were at the back. There were many powerful cultivators gathered, and it was the place to launch a strategic attack. This was the killing weapon of the border army. Every one of them had an extraordinary background. They were the reinforcements that Fang Jingqiang had hired with a lot of money. One of them could fight against 1,000 overlords. Li Jiang sword art. Kill. In one of the towers, a young cultivator in a blue robe made a gesture with his right hand. A flying sword of the quasi-spirit treasure level jumped out from behind him. The sword light was like frost and the moon, illuminating a few hundred meters. It struck towards Jiang Tian like lightning. This monster from Earth is so powerful. An old monk with the energy of an old turtle sat on the top of a tower surrounded by golden Buddha light. He opened his eyes and let out a sigh. Chapter 926. The old monk was Master Yuan Jing of the Prajna Temple. On this continent, the Prajna Temple was second only to the demon-subduing temple among the Buddhist forces. On the heavenly law ranking, Master Yuan Jing was ranked in the top 30. He was not far from Ding Lai, Miayu, and the others. His battle prowess was almost on par with Fang Jingqiang. Daoist graphite was not even worthy of carrying his shoes. Today, he had accepted Fang Jingqiang's invitation and brought 30 Foundation Establishment Realm disciples to assist him in slaying Jiang Tian. Freedom Prajna Art. Buddhist hand print. Die for this poor monk. At this moment, Master Yuan Jing suddenly opened his eyes and pushed out 100-meter-long golden palm from the sky. 10,000 snakes. Let the little kid on earth know how powerful the snake sect is. There was also a seductive woman in red standing on top of a building. Her skin was fair, her chest was high, and her slender waist was very attractive. Her earrings kept twisting. If one looked closely, they were actually small colorful snakes. Under her command, red, green, and white mutated snakes flapped their fleshy wings and shot towards Jiang Tian like whistling arrows from the woods and meadows within 3 miles of the Jade Well Peak. She was the sect master of the Snake Sect, someone who wasn't inferior to the peak lords of the main peaks in the Demon Cave Mountain. Later, she was conquered by Fang Jingxiang and became his disciple, living in a barren city. In this wave of attack, battleships, chariots, and buildings moved together. Tens of thousands of overlords attacked Jiang Tian together. Their Dharma treasures covered the sky and sword auras were everywhere, attacking from all directions. It could be said to be an inescapable net. There was no chance for him to dodge at all. Why isn't Tai Chu dodging? I'm afraid even a sect master like Miayu wouldn't be able to block it. Seeing this, Jiang Haishan's heart skipped a beat, as if he had fallen into an abyss. He definitely can't block it. Even my master can't block it. He's going to die. Fairy Miao Yi's face was pale and her head was buzzing. Her beautiful eyes were filled with tears and she was about to cry. This time, he'll definitely die. The corners of Chu Yunxiu's mouth twitched crazily, her eyes feverish. Even more people were dumbfounded. Their mouths were wide open, but they couldn't make a single sound. Such an attack was like a raging wave that swept through the world like a hurricane, and it destroyed everything in its path. This kind of destructive power was simply too terrifying. Not even a false core cultivator could withstand a single strike. It could destroy cities and sects in an instant. This was the strength of the regular army of the cultivation world. All kinds of demons and ghosts had to submit to him. Perhaps only those in the later stage of the Golden Core realm could survive. Fang Jingxiang, is this your trump card? I'm so disappointed. But when faced with the surging pressure, Jiang Tian seemed as if a cool breeze had brushed past his face, and his expression was indifferent and calm like an ancient well without ripples. Seal. Following Jiang Tian's soft shout, a surge of golden seal energy soared into the sky. With him as the center, it exploded in an instant and swept in all directions, pushing the 9 heavens and 10 earths crazily. The boundless seal energy seemed to be endless and kept pushing forward. In the end, with Jiang Tian as the center, a huge golden ball with a radius of half a mile burst out. And within this golden sphere of restriction, numerous spear-like arrows, numerous flying swords, numerous magic treasures. All of them were suspended in the air in astonishment, motionless. Even the thunderbolt cannonballs, which were known for their fierceness and violence, were frozen there. Those thunderbolts were still in a threatening posture, but they couldn't move forward at all. Even the tens of thousands of colorful and gorgeous mutated poisonous snakes were suspended in the air with dumbfounded looks in their eyes. They even opened their bloody mouths and spat out their scarlet forked tongues, maintaining the posture of flapping their wings and flying away. Hiss! In an instant, everyone at the scene gasped and was dumbfounded as if they had seen a ghost. How is this possible? The eyes of tens of thousands of soldiers almost popped out, and they were so scared that their weapons fell to the ground. At this time, Jiang Tian was using a real immortal magic art, not some true essence or aura. This golden ball was full of golden light, and runes were floating on it. It was magnificent and extremely tough. Even if a golden core cultivator attacked with all his strength, he might not be able to break it. Isn't he an ant on earth? How can he be proficient in such a perfected immortal magic art? Seeing this, Wu Xiuda exclaimed. He had also felt the power of Jiang Tian's seal. It was able to freeze his black water saber art in an instant. At that time, he was already shocked. But he didn't expect that Jiang Tian's seal was 10 times, 100 times, or even 1,000 times more powerful than before. Where did he come from? Is he the reincarnation of the old devil? Li Hongyu was so scared that her face turned pale and she almost peed on the spot. The drumstick fell on her foot, and she grimaced in pain. These battleships, cloud towers, chariots, and Dharma artifacts were all from the ruins of an ancient battlefield. They contained surging power and had surpassed the current level of crafting in the Heavenly Star's small world. But they couldn't kill Jiang Tian. All the attacks were blocked by Jiang Tian. It was simply too shocking. This bastard is so powerful. Chu Yunxiu was also shocked. Her face was as pale as paper, and she was dumbfounded. Cold sweat poured down her face as if she had seen a ghost. What are you waiting for? Kill him again. I don't believe we can't kill him. Fang Jingqiang stood on the desolate border's bronze chariot's head, roaring like a wild beast. Many soldiers looked up and couldn't help but be frightened. They saw that Jiang Tian had already rushed to the sky. He stepped in the air and rushed towards everyone like a ray of light. He walked in the air, and the 9 main flying swords circled around him. They turned into a ray of light that shot to the sky and attacked everyone. As for the golden ball, it was controlled by Jiang Tian's invisible spiritual power and floated behind him. Attack! The fear in the hearts of many soldiers of the barren city turned into sharp murderous intent. They activated their Dharma artifacts again. But Jiang Tian didn't give them a chance. It was all too late. Jiang Tian's 9 flying swords, under the control of his immortal will, suddenly merged into a 10-meter-long giant flying sword and swept across the sky. Instantly, a 3,000-meter-long giant sword light swept across the sky. It was extremely dazzling. This sword light was extremely dazzling. At this moment, there seemed to be nothing else in the world except for this sword. The sword light seemed to be able to sweep across the 9 heavens and 10 earths, suppressing all the heavens and carrying the supreme majesty. It was engraved with countless runes and talismans, and it contained endless vital essence. It was vast, surging, and extremely sharp. It swept across and nothing could stop it. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Many bronze battleships, which could withstand nuclear explosions, were slashed by the sword light as if they were made of mud. If time stopped at this moment, people would find that the cross-sections of the bronze as thick as city walls were as smooth as mirrors and could even reflect the scenery. The sword light moved forward without any hindrance. In just a second, it went from left to right and swept across 50 ancient battleships. Countless immortal state warriors and cultivators, including those at the peak stage of the Qi refinement realm and the foundation establishment level, couldn't withstand it. Many people were cut in half at the waist. Blood gushed out like tides and their bodies fell to the ground silently. Jiang Tian's sword had killed 1,000 people. On the battleships, some cultivators who were lucky enough to survive were covered in cold sweat. They hurried to escape on small flying swords, boats and other small flying Dharma artifacts. Son of a bitch. Go and eat. Jiang Tian smiled. He's here. Master. The old dragon stood up and transformed into the true form of a purple-gold true dragon. Then, he soared into the sky. He was over 300 meters long, and his dragon scales flickered with an intimidating cold light. He opened his mountain-like mouth and sucked in a breath. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Many cultivators and martial artists were swallowed into his stomach amidst their screams and wails. Fresh. The cultivators of the heavenly star small world are indeed different. They're so chewy. He held a 1-meter-long spicy strip in one of his front paws and swung the other claws quickly. He grabbed a person and stuffed him into his mouth, chewing and swallowing loudly while praising loudly. Then, the broken runes, reaction power furnaces, and magical equipment on the battleship exploded uncontrollably. The enormous energy and magical power contained in them exploded uncontrollably. Boom! Boom! The earth-shattering explosions were heavy and shocking. A series of incomparably dazzling flames lit up as if a series of supernova explosions had occurred. Violent energy swept out in all directions, causing the earth to tremble and mountains to tremble. Even the void was annihilated. And this earth-shattering explosion was only the first note of Jiang Tian's high-spirited battle song. Whoosh! The old dragon was blown hundreds of meters away by the violent airwaves and fell into a mountain with a boom. A moment later, he flew out unsteadily as if he were drunk. He looked at the shattered cultivators in his claws and said gloomily, "They're not tasty anymore." When Jiang Tian took the second step, he was thousands of meters away in a flash. He was like an awe-inspiring god of war, hovering above the largest ancient battleship. Both of his hands pushed out a vast amount of Zhenyuan, holding a sword and slashing down with all his might. "You can't kill me, ant from earth!" Fang Jingxiang roared angrily. The blood in his body surged and his body expanded to 20 meters in an instant. He held the azure dragon flaming saber in his hand and blocked the attack. At the same time, he took out a bronze mirror that floated above his head. It emitted endless light and formed a golden shield that completely enveloped him. The runes on his armor flickered and flickered. 7 or 8 protective Dharma treasures, including jade pendants, waist tags, necklaces and even spirit treasures, surged with Dharma powers and bloomed with colorful lights. In an instant, strange phenomena appeared. Fang Jingxiang used all his cultivation and many Dharma treasures to block Jiang Tian's attack. But under Jiang Tian's stunning attack, all resistance were useless. Chapter 927. Jiang Tian's sword was sharp to the extreme, nothing could block it. It hacked down like lightning. The bronze mirror was also a spiritual artifact, but it only lasted for 3 seconds before it was cut in half and fell to the ground. The azure dragon flaming saber and other protective shields were even more vulnerable. They were easily cut in half by Jiang Tian's sword aura. The long saber and many protective magical artifacts suffered from the backlash and cracked or exploded, turning into dust. The sharp curved sword aura was like a cutting machine that could cut through everything. "Immortal Master Jiang, don't kill me. I can tell you the location of the ancient ruins." At the last moment, Fang Jingxiang was finally scared. He begged with a face full of fear. "Even if you don't tell me, I can still find out." Jiang Tian sneered and the sword aura in his hand slashed down mercilessly. The sharp sword aura cut through Fang Jingxiang's golden helmet like a knife cutting through water. It went straight down to his crotch and still didn't slow down. Zeng! With a sharp sound, the lower part of the ancient warship was penetrated, leaving a shocking wound. So powerful. Fang Jingxiang's body suddenly shrank to the size of an ordinary person. He held the broken saber in his hand and stood there stiffly with a look of shock and disbelief on his face. Jiang Tian landed on the bronze warship and looked at Fang Jingxiang with disdain. An invisible black soul appeared between Jiang Tian's eyebrows and invaded Fang Jingxiang's mind like lightning, searching all his memories. "City Lord, why are you still standing there? Fight back and kill this bastard, the enemy who killed her brother was close at hand." Li Hongyu's murderous intent was aroused. She looked at Jiang Tian with red eyes and shouted angrily. But in the next moment, her angry rebuke turned into a tragic cry, and she let out an incomparably shrill cry. A line of blood appeared on Fang Jingxiang's forehead and kept spreading down. The line of blood became bigger and bigger. Suddenly, blood gushed out like a waterfall and then his body exploded. Bang! 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 Armors, clothes, blood, broken bones, minced flesh, skin, hair, limbs. They fell like a heavy downpour. The ugly head fell into Li Hongyu's arms. Gia. The woman held it in her hands and looked at it. Immediately, her limbs convulsed and her delicate body convulsed violently. She urinated and defecated. Her eyes rolled back and she fainted. In the blink of an eye, the entire place was dead silent. Even the sound of a pin dropping could be heard. Around Jadewell Peak, within a radius of 10 li, there were over 10,000 people on the battlefield. None of them said a word. Whether it was the Border Baron army, the experts watching the battle, or even Jiang Tian's comrades, everyone was shocked. They were dumbfounded, and their faces were full of shock and astonishment. Fake Corps expert, Butcher, Desolate Borders City Lord, Li Longyuan's honorary disciple, Fang Jingxiang, had been killed by Jiang Tian's sword. In this battle, Jiang Tian had only attacked a few times. However, it was as though he was crushing dry weeds. He annihilated the fiend celestials, slaughtered humans, killed thousands of people and suppressed tens of thousands of soldiers. Such a battle record was simply unprecedented. It was like a legend, and it was inconceivable. Fang Jingqiang and the Desolate Border Army actually lost. Master Yuan Jing spoke with difficulty, his voice hoarse and dry. Fang Jingqiang is already at the perfected Fake Core realm. Furthermore, he has the secret technique of summoning demons and possesses the strength to destroy cities and mountains. Yet, he lost to Kang Teichu. The sect master of Snake Desire sect had shock and fear written all over her seductive face. As for the other experts, they were all silent. Since Jiang Tian had the strength to shake the desolate border city, he was probably not far from overturning the Heavenly Star Palace. This world was really going to undergo a great change. What should they do and how should they decide? It was truly a headache. Clatter. The desolate border soldiers had dazed gazes and were filled with fear. Dazed, the spears and bows in their hands fell to the ground one after another. The surging battle intent of the tens of thousands of soldiers vanished without a trace in an instant, as though they were removing firewood from the bottom of a cauldron. In the army, Fang Jingqiang worshipped everyone. In the eyes of these soldiers, he was like a god. But now, he was killed by Jiang Tian's sword. Everyone's souls trembled in extreme fear. We won't accept this. We will fight for the righteous path, for the peace of the Heavenly Star small world, for the City Lord's revenge, and for the City Lord's death, we will fight you to the end. In the silence, only a tall and burly general on the Intrepid waved his blade and roared, his battle intent surging. This person was Fang Jingqiang's clansman and old friend. He had once received Fang Jingqiang's kindness and was loyal and would rather die than surrender. In truth, this Intrepid was only second to the City Lord's warship in terms of size, dermic powers, and offensive power. Above it were 300 generals and soldiers. They were the sons of the desolate border cities' officials, aristocratic families, and the greedy class. They were Fang Jingqiang's death warriors. Everyone understood the principle that without the skin, where would the hair be attached to? Every revolution was a great purge of the greedy class. After this, Jiang Tian would definitely kill them all. At this moment, they all roared like thunder and drove the ancient bronze warship toward Jiang Tian. Stubborn. Then I'll fulfill your wish. Jiang Tian faintly smiled, his eyes cold. The huge golden orb floating in the air rapidly shrunk under his control and shot towards the Intrepid battleship. In the blink of an eye, it arrived near the Intrepid. The golden restriction sphere had already shrunk to 0.5 meter in diameter. Primal chaos surged and released a dazzling radiance, containing an enormous amount of energy. In the blink of an eye, the moment Jiang Tian removed the restriction, the berserk energy contained within instantly exploded. Flames soared into the sky, lightning crackled, and black smoke roiled. A giant mushroom cloud 1 kilometer in diameter soared into the sky. In an instant, the Intrepid was melted into molten bronze and scattered in all directions. When the billowing dust scattered, the sky was calm. Not even a drop of dust remained of the cultivators. The Intrepid had been completely swept clean. This was the result of resisting concealment, Immortal Master. All the soldiers and generals on the bronze war chariots realized this. Fear was contagious. The 10 cloud towers, the final trump card of the desolate border army, had all submitted. When they saw the Intrepid being swept clean, how could the martial artists on the bronze war chariots persist? Spare us. Concealment, Immortal Master, spare us. We are all children of poor families. We only joined the army to make a living. They all threw away their weapons, some even taking off their armor and helmets. They prostrated on the ground, trembling in submission. The defensive abilities of these war chariots were on the same level as the warships, but they were still destroyed by Jiang Tian's sword. Sanskrit Temple's high monk, Yuan Jing, was so frightened that he crushed his prayer beads. Then, he prostrated himself deeply, saying with a trembling voice, I never thought that concealment Immortal Master's cultivation would be so heaven-defying. Sanskrit Temple is willing to submit and follow you for a grand plan. To be able to kill a false core cultivator with a single sword, completely suppressing them, this kind of battle prowess already surpassed golden core cultivators. If he continued fighting, he would only be cannon fodder. None of them would be able to take a single blow. My serpent sect is also willing to follow Concealment Immortal Master. From today onwards, my serpent sect will follow Absolute Beginning Immortal Master. If you have any orders, we will follow without question. The head of the serpent sect, that flirtatious woman, also trembled and prostrated on the ground. We're willing to follow Absolute Beginning Immortal Master. Then, the many experts on the 10 cloud towers seemed to have suddenly reacted and prostrated on the ground, trembling. They were afraid that they would be killed by Jiang Tian with a flick of his finger if they were a second late. Didn't you say that you wanted to kill me? Why are you suddenly submitting now? Jiang Tian glanced at the experts on the cloud tower with interest and said with a cold smile. Please allow me to report, Concealment Immortal Master. The abbot of Sanskrit temple put his palms together and lowered his head, smiling bitterly. Li Longyuan's actions were already unpopular and we didn't accept it at all. However, we were afraid of his power and couldn't see any hope of winning. We were also threatened by Fang Jingxiang, so we had no choice but to become your enemy. I'm a late-stage foundation establishment cultivator and I'm proficient in Buddhist Psyche divine powers. I'm willing to serve Absolute Beginning Immortal Master. I only beg Immortal Master Jiang to spare this old man's life. Absolute Beginning Immortal Master, we're sincerely submitting to you. The seductive cult leader of the Serpent Desire sect gazed at him with her beautiful eyes. Now that we've seen Master Kang's power, we won't follow you anymore. We'll conquer a great land together. Wouldn't we be fools then? Absolute Beginning Immortal Master, please lead us to break this unfair world and restore the glory of Tianqing. Ha, you used to belong to the Demon Cave Mountain, but you betrayed us and betrayed us. You deserve to be killed. Jiang Tian nodded and looked at the peak masters of the Demon Cave Mountain who had betrayed him. It's too late. We made the wrong choice. After witnessing Jiang Tian's overwhelming power, the peak leaders' faces turned pale from fright. Especially Zhou Huijin, Zhao Muyang and some other juniors. Even if they were elites, they were so scared that they even peed their pants. Meanwhile, the other peak masters were terrified and regretful. They even wanted to slap themselves in the face. Who said that Kang Taichu was only at the second level of the foundation establishment level and that he only relied on pills and secret arts to increase his power? That was bullshit. Miayu, you've screwed me over. What kind of pills and secret arts could last so long? What kind of pills could make Jiang Tian fight the 8-armed fiend god and kill Fang Jingxiang with a slash? That's impossible. No matter how strong Kang Taichu was, he clearly had the strength to fight a fake core cultivator or even a golden core cultivator. Absolute Beginning Immortal Master, we were blind. Please forgive us. We're willing to submit to the Demon Cave Mountain and help you guard the border cities. Absolute Beginning Immortal Master, we were wrong. You're in need of people. We're willing to serve you. When Jiang Tian's cold gaze swept over, the peak masters couldn't hold on any longer and fell to their knees one after another, kowtowing to Jiang Tian as if they were pounding garlic. You can submit to me. Jiang Tian pondered for a while and said calmly, you've already betrayed me. It's hard for me to trust you. You have to sign a divine soul contract with me. If you betray me again, I'll make sure you'll never be reincarnated. We're willing. Everyone's expression turned bitter. They hesitated for a moment, but in the end, they still chose to kowtow and submit. Once they signed a divine soul contract, they would become Jiang Tian's slaves. They wouldn't dare to disobey and they wouldn't have a chance to resist. In order to save their lives, they had no other choice but to be Jiang Tian's slaves forever. Chapter 928. Jiang Tian's divine sense moved, and dozens of black soul devourers' divine senses spread out like tentacles, burrowing into their minds and settling down quietly. These soul devourers' divine senses were intelligent and could monitor their every move at any time. If they betrayed Jiang Tian, they would not be able to escape death even if they fled to the ends of the earth or even left this small world. This was because the soul devourer's divine senses could quickly devour their divine senses without the command of Jiang Tian's main divine sense. They could kill them directly or completely occupy their bodies, turning them into walking corpses. Immortal Master Jiang, what about me? I also want to make a divine soul contract with you and be your slave. Among the crowd, only Wu Xiuda was prostrating on the deck of the chariot, trembling like a quail. His face was full of flattery as he spoke in a low voice. At this moment, his endless killing intent and hatred had turned into cold sweat. He had never thought that Jiang Tian would be able to fight the army of the borderlands alone. Under such circumstances, Jiang Tian definitely had the strength to challenge Li Longyuan. He regretted it so much. He was really out of his mind. Why did he have to avenge his son? Wu Tengying was not his only son. He had more than a dozen sons. Besides, if his sons died, he could always have more. Just now, Jiang Tian did not place any soul devourer in his mind and did not make a divine soul contract with him. He was so scared that he almost wet his pants. He knew that Jiang Tian might kill him. You're not worthy to be my slave. Jiang Tian's eyes were cold as he pointed at Wu Xiuda. Bang! Wu Xiuda didn't even have the chance to beg for mercy before his body exploded. Sparkling and translucent flesh and blood rained down like a heavy rain. We congratulate the Tai Chu Celestial Master on defeating the Borderlands and achieving immortality. We're willing to die to find the Tai Chu Celestial Master and fight Li Longyuan to the death. Many Peak Masters, Cave Masters, Fort Masters, Master Yuan Jing, the Snake Sect's leader, and the experts of the Li River Sword Sect were so scared that they trembled. They kowtowed to Jiang Tian and congratulated him respectfully. Since that's the case, all of you will be reorganized. Jiang Tian nodded and said in a loud voice, Jiang Haishan, Ying Luo, Xiao Beishan, Stinking Monkey, lead the soldiers and detain these people. Then we'll screen them one by one. The elites and talents among them who are sincerely willing to join us can stay. The rest of the diehards were either killed or crippled. For those with mediocre aptitude, disarm them and return to their fields. We won. The Grand Primordium Immortal Master won. We won. On Jadewell Peak, many of the defending troops were jubilant. Jiang Haishan, Yi Tianren, and the other strong practitioners led the crowd of heroes. He stepped on his sword and soared into the sky to take over the warships, chariots, and cloud towers. He then escorted the captives to the dungeon. Ha, Chu Yunxiu, do you still think your Chu clan has a chance to make a comeback? On the banks of the Luyin River, Jiang Yunhe cast a sidelong glance at the pale and shivering Chu Yunxiu. You also said that the Concealment Immortal Master was at the second level of Foundation establishment and relied on medicinal pills to forcefully increase his cultivation. What kind of pill or secret technique can last for so long? How is it possible to kill a false core expert in one strike? Could he be a gold core expert? Chu Yunxiu stared at Jiang Tian in the sky, dumbfounded. She was in a daze, as if she didn't hear his words. Relying on medicinal pills to forcefully increase one's cultivation had many drawbacks and limitations. Take the Qi Explosion pill for example. Taking several of them could increase one's cultivation by a large margin, such as from the middle stage to the late stage of Foundation establishment. But generally speaking, the effect of the pill could only last for a day or even a few hours. And after the effect of the pill wore off, the cultivator's cultivation would definitely drop by a large margin. It would take a few years for the cultivator to recover. Moreover, before the cultivator's cultivation recovered, they couldn't continuously take pills. Otherwise, they would lose all their cultivation and even explode. Jiang Tian had already shown his false core cultivation by the Blackwater Lake once. If he really relied on medicinal pills to forcefully increase his cultivation, then this time, it was absolutely impossible for him to show battle prowess surpassing the false core level. Answer me, you blind bitch. Jiang Yunhe sneered and slapped Chu Yunxiu's face. He scolded coldly, you still say my Jiang clan's choice is stupid? In my opinion, you're the biggest idiot. Chu Yunxiu was slapped to the ground. Her face was swollen, but she didn't feel any pain on her face. She only felt a strong sense of regret churning in her heart and rushing to the top of her head. Her tears almost flowed out. That's right, compared to the physical pain, what she felt was even more severe was the mental torture. One had to know that the first time Jiang Tian came to the Demon Cave Mountain, he relied on the Jade Well Peak. If she had discerning eyes at that time, then right now, they would be Jiang Tian's favorites, suppressing the other peaks. When Jiang Tian conquered the Heavenly Star Palace, as a meritorious elder, as a meritorious official, their Chu clan would be just around the corner. Any cultivation techniques and resources would be easily obtained. However, she repeatedly disrespected and humiliated him without repentance. In the end, she walked to the opposite side of Jiang Tian. She was beyond redemption. Recalling the scene of her repeatedly provoking and humiliating Jiang Tian, she was so scared that her face turned pale and her delicate body trembled uncontrollably. Now, even if she wanted to rely on Jiang Tian, it was too late. She was no longer of any use. No. I must think of a way. I must think of a way to kill Jiang Tian and take back the Jade Well Peak. This crazy idea surged in Chu Yunxiu's mind and couldn't be dismissed. Yes, find him. Only by finding him can we suppress Kang Te-Chu and take back the Jade Well Peak. We can even take over the entire Demon Cave Mountain. Suddenly, her eyes lit up as she thought of a terrifying existence that could shake this continent. She was extremely excited. As Jiang Tian and the others finished cleaning up the battlefield, some cultivators and forces who came to help were invited by Jiang Haishan to the Jade Well Peak to pay a visit to Jiang Tian. The other cultivators who were watching the battle couldn't hide their excitement. Suppressing the shock in their hearts, they talked about the details of the battle and left one after another. However, Fairy Miao Yi didn't move for a long time. She stood stiffly on a mountain peak. She looked at the back view of Jiang Tian, who was escorted by many experts with a complicated expression. She wanted to say something but didn't. From the beginning to the end, Jiang Tian didn't even look at her. It was as if she was just a mass of air. Noticing this detail, Fairy Miao Yi's beautiful eyes misted over. She felt wronged and depressed. In fact, since the start of the battle, she had never shown the slightest bit of disrespect or hostility towards Jiang Tian. All she showed was that she was worried. However, the basis of her worry was her suspicion of Jiang Tian's strength. She thought that Jiang Tian didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. He's the kind of person who's very proud. What he needs is a woman who can fight side by side with him with determination. But I actually doubted his strength. In his eyes, I must be very laughable. Fairy Miao Yi's heart was filled with mixed feelings. She sighed with reddened eyes and staggered on her flying sword to leave the Jade Well Peak. A few hours later, when the news of the battle in Border City was spread to the outside world through the mouths of many cultivators. It was like a flood breaking the dike and flowing for thousands of miles. The three words, Kang Te-Chu, shook the wilderness and caused the sky to collapse and the earth to crack. The entire Heavenly Star small world was deeply shocked. Fang Jingxiang is personally leading the battle and the army of Border City is pressing down. How can a mere ant from Earth and a piece of trash like Jiang Haishan fight against them? Yes, according to some people who have met Kang Te-Chu, his cultivation is at the second level of the foundation establishment stage. Second level of the foundation establishment stage? He can't even withstand a single blow. City Lord Fang is making a mountain out of a molehill. He actually sent out a warship and thousands of troops. This is too much of a bully. He's giving them too much face. It's not worth watching. This is a one-sided massacre without any suspense. Fang Jingxiang is going to kill them like killing chickens, right? When they heard about the battle, many people had such an opinion. They were not interested and didn't even bother to go to Jade Well Peak to watch the battle. But when the news came, everyone was stunned and felt as if they had been slapped in the face. How is that possible? Jiang Tai-Chu, an ant from Earth, can actually kill the 8-armed devil god, sweep away 50 warships with one sword, and kill Butcher Fang Jingxiang with one sword. Everyone cried out in alarm. Their voices were hoarse, as if their chrysanthemums had been burst. It must be a rumor. Fang Jingxiang had a pseudo-core cultivation and was known as the Human Butcher. He was the city lord of a giant city. Not only did he obtain an ancient demonic art inheritance, but he also received personal guidance from Li Longyuan. How could he have been killed by Jiang Taichu's sword? Many people didn't believe it at all. I was on the battlefield at that time. How can it be fake? In a certain mission hall, the leader of the rumbling heaven mercenaries was drunk. When he heard these discussions, he glared with bloodshot eyes and loudly shouted, "Let's go. This Jiang Taichu's strength has reached an unimaginable level. He's completely crushing the border city. Whoever dares to be disrespectful to my lord, don't blame me for being merciless." After Fang Jingxiang's army was defeated, only thousands of cultivators and warriors were left to defend border city. Jiang Tian immediately gave the order to attack the city. Many peak masters and sect masters led their armies forward and swiftly defeated the remnants of the desolate border army, firmly occupying the desolate border city. The mighty sky mercenaries also participated in the battle. As soon as these words came out, a group of people were stunned. Hiss! I didn't expect Master Immortal Jiang Taichu to be so strong. He's so terrifying. Everyone was so shocked that they felt as if they had a toothache. The whole place was filled with the sound of people sucking in cold air. Chapter 929. The Crushing Sky mercenary group had always been known for being reliable and trustworthy. Of course, he wouldn't lie. That's right. This battle was simply brilliant and full of twists and turns. Immortal Master Concealment was unstoppable. Next to him, the leader of the Flying Rainbow Bounty Hunters, who was hugging two young women from the Spring Fragrance Brothel, said calmly. Many chariots and cloud towers were all seized by Kang Taichu. The battle was quite fruitful. We, the Flying Rainbow Bounty Hunters, each received a reward of 1 million low-grade 5 crystal stones. Now, Desolate City belongs to Immortal Master Kang Taichu. Chao Meng is the city lord, and the brothers who participated in the battle will all be rewarded. In the future, when I become an official, the position of the chief of the investigation department in Desolate City will be mine. Immortal Master Kang Taichu has already taken over Desolate City. Next to him, an old Qi refinement cultivator's legs trembled. This news was too shocking. This meant that Kang Taichu would lead the Demon Cave Mountain to attack the city and fight to the death with the Heavenly Star Palace. This was an earth-shattering event that would turn the Heavenly Star small world upside down. A young man slammed the table and said excitedly, "Let's do it. Rise up in revolt, work together to achieve great things, and do something big together. Kill Li Longyuan and take over the Heavenly Star Palace. Brothers, give me a hand." However, the other cultivators remained silent and remained in a wait-and-see position. A young Taoist muttered, "The Heavenly Star Palace's palace master Li Longyuan is a golden core cultivator. Kang Taichu is an abandoned person from Earth. Even if he's talented, he's limited by resources. I'm afraid he's only a false core cultivator. How can he be a match for Li Longyuan? Not to mention, there are also the Feather Guard and many elders and sections. They're all at the false core level." As soon as this was said, everyone nodded. Kang Taichu could defeat Fang Jingxiang, which was considered very powerful. But compared to Li Longyuan, the difference was too great. Who said that Immortal Master Jiang must be a false core cultivator and not a golden core cultivator? The leader of the Crushing Heavens mercenaries shouted loudly. Immortal Master Jiang is definitely a once-in-a-lifetime cultivation genius with unfathomable depths. It's very likely that he will replace Li Longyuan and become the master of this space. Now, he was already a fanatical fan of Jiang Tian, and he couldn't bear to hear anyone questioning Jiang Tian. What? Kang Taichu is not at the second level of foundation establishment, but at the false core stage, or even higher. This priestess desireless is too ridiculous. It was simply nonsense. This has killed Fang Jingxiang. That's right. If Fang Jingxiang knew about Kang Teichu's true cultivation, he would never have advanced so rashly. You've done a lot of harm. What a jinx. Many people were very depressed after hearing this news and despised Priestess Desireless. Some of the powerful cultivators who were close to Fang Jingxiang even cursed Priestess Desireless and her 18 generations of ancestors 100 times. When these rumors reached the Heartless sect, Priestess Desireless was also very shocked. She felt as if her face had been slapped swollen. Miaoyi, is Kang Teichu a false core cultivator? Priestess Desireless' charming face was full of frost as she asked coldly. Miaoyi pondered for a moment and said with a frown, only higher. How is that possible? Priestess Desireless smiled contemptuously and said disapprovingly, my eyes are sharp. Your master's foresight is as clear as fire. Over the past few hundred years, I have never made a mistake. How could I be wrong? Besides, Earth doesn't have the foundation to produce such a powerful cultivator. Even in the ruins of immortality, those supreme deity sects and families, there haven't been many who could reach the false core level before the age of 30 in the past few hundred years. He must have used some kind of secret evil art to forcefully raise his cultivation, but this can't be sustained. Master, Kang Teichu is the most powerful cultivator on Earth, and Li Longyuan is the most powerful cultivator in the stellar sky domain. Their fight has nothing to do with the Heartless sect. Miaoyi thought for a moment and said respectfully, I think it's best that we don't help either side and stay out of it. Miaoyi knew that Priestess Desireless had a strange and violent temper. She was unpredictable and hard to predict. She was also very strong-willed and had never been weaker than anyone. Jiang Tian wanted her to warn Priestess Desireless, but it might cause Priestess Desireless to rebel. How could Miaoyi really warn her? Otherwise, Priestess Desireless would explode on the spot and fight with Jiang Tian for 300 rounds. However, Miaoyi didn't expect that Priestess Desireless would still be angered by those rumors. Kang Teichu, that little thief, is very sinister. He made me suffer endless curses, saying that I'm blind and that I'm a jinx. Priestess Desireless' eyes shot out flames of anger as she said coldly, I must fight with Kang Teichu and expose his true colors. Let the heroes of the world see exactly how weak he, Jiang Taichu, is. Master, don't. Miaoyi turned pale with fright as she hurriedly knelt on the ground and said with tears in her eyes, you have no grudges with Kang Teichu. Why do you have to make him your enemy? If anything happens to him, wouldn't you hurt your loved ones and delight your enemies? He rejected my marriage proposal and embarrassed me and you. Yet, you're still pleading for him. Priestess Desireless slammed the table and shouted angrily. The violent air waves caused Miaoyi's delicate body to tremble slightly. Master, Kang Teichu is really strong. You have to think twice before you act, Miaoyi begged pitifully. Strong? Even if he's at the second stage foundation establishment realm, he won't last long even if he uses elixirs, evil arts, and secret arts to forcefully raise his cultivation. Priestess Desireless said coldly. Also, who allowed you to watch the battle this time? I heard that you even used the name of the Heartless sect to plead for him in the border city. You sure have guts. You're really mesmerized by this little thief. You even dare to disobey your master's orders. You'll face the wall for a year and not take a single step out of your room. If you dare to do this again, I'll strip you of your cultivation. Miaoyi was so scared that her face turned pale. Her beautiful eyes were filled with despair. Even her master was going to make a move. Kang Teichu was really in trouble. Feather Guard, within 10 days, will kill Kang Teichu. As a warning to others. When the news came, the leader of the Heavenly Star Palace's Feather Guard immediately announced the news. His battle intent surged, and his arrogance soared into the sky. Many people were shocked when they heard this. The Feather Guard was Li Longyuan's personal guard. There were several false core experts among them. Not only were they powerful, but they were best at hiding, ambushing, and assassinating. They were not like Fang Jingxiang, who fought face to face. With their strength and assassination methods, they could probably kill even a golden core expert. At the same time, Wild Wave City, Floating Spear City, and the Giant Sword Sect also declared war on Jiang Tian. 100,000 troops headed straight for the border cities and Demon Cave Mountain. Jiang Tian had been cultivating for 10,000 years and had conquered countless planets. He was very familiar with marching, fighting, and arranging troops. He quickly arranged everything properly. In the border cities, Elder Chao Meng was the city lord, and the peak lords of the other Mount Everest were the leaders of the various armies. However, Jiang Tian had signed a divine soul contract with the peak lords. They immediately became loyal to Jiang Tian, treating Jiang Tian as a god. Those who had passed the inspection and were capable and loyal to the barren city garrison army were restored to their posts. Those stubborn interest groups were executed on the spot. As for the soldiers at the bottom, they did not support Li Longyuan and the Heavenly Star Palace at all. It could even be said that they hated them. As long as these high-ranking generals led them, they would definitely fulfill their duties and kill the enemy. As the saying goes, Lu Nanwei is not dead. To Jiang Tian, he did not care about the gains and losses of the cities and pools. His goal was to kill Li Longyuan. He did not care much about the border cities. They were just a line of defense for Jadewell Peak and Jinsong Peak. After all, Jiang Tian sincerely supported him. Jiang Tian could not let them suffer. At this time, Jiang Haishan, Jiang Yunhe, and many other members of the volunteer army had already treated Jiang Tian like a god. The scene of Jiang Tian fighting 10,000 alone and destroying the city with one sword really made them admire Jiang Tian to the extreme. Jiang Tian, who was at the center of the storm, was surprisingly calm. After defeating the 10,000 cultivators of the border cities, Jiang Tian stayed at Jadewell Peak and guided Xiao Yingluo, the old dragon, and Yi Tianren in their cultivation. He also refined pills to help them break through. Since setting foot on the Heavenly Star small world, Yi Tianren's cultivation had advanced by leaps and bounds. It was almost a realm in a few days. According to Jiang Tian's guidance, he entered the Tao with martial arts, transformed his true qi into true essence, and quickly advanced to the late stage of foundation establishment. After all, Yi Tianren was originally the #1 person in Huaxia 100 years ago. He had the strength of the third level of foundation establishment and was extremely talented. It was only because the spirit qi on earth was too thin that he was unable to break through. Now, there were many great medicines, pills, and spirit qi like rain and mist. With Jiang Tian's guidance, he was like a fish in water. In addition, Jiang Tian was busy rummaging through the treasury of Jadewell Peak every day. He turned the treasury of Jadewell Peak upside down and found many qi dragon tendons, phoenix feathers, golden crystal threads of frost iron, refined red copper, taihao wood, cloud end grass, and other natural treasures. These natural treasures belonged to treasures from thousands of years ago. They were priceless and extremely rare. Seeing Jiang Tian pierce through layers of disguises and break through layers of restrictions to find all these things, Chu Yunxiu was so angry that she wanted to vomit blood. These were the treasures at the bottom of Jadewell Peak. They were the painstaking accumulation of their ancestors for generations, and now they were all taken by Jiang Tian. "Brother Jiang, why are you looking for these?" Xiao Yingluo asked with a smile. Now, she had already started cultivating. Her comprehension and physique were very good, and she had already laid the foundation of the second level of qi refinement. She had a bit of water immortal qi, which made her seem even more clever and cute. Next to her, Chu Yunxiu was battered and exhausted. A featherless phoenix was worse than a chicken. Star crown, feather robe, and cloud shoes. In any case, we are people of status. We have to have some clothes to show off. Jiang Tian touched her little head and said with a smile. "Since you have a certain foundation in refining, I'll draw and you can weave and cut if you want to help." "Of course, that's no problem. I'm very good at making Dharma artifacts and Dharma clothes. You can give me a set." Xiao Yingluo said with a smile. "Okay. You just have to put in the effort." I promise I'll give you a beautiful set. Jiang Tian said with a smile. Kang Te Chu, you ant from Earth, you'd better let me go quickly and make me the Demon Cave Mountain Master. Chu Yunxiu was so angry that her face turned pale and she shouted angrily. Even when she was the daughter of the Peak Master, she didn't have the chance to touch these treasures. Now, she was making clothes for this bitch. Chapter 930. Slap. Xiao Yingluo raised her hand and slapped her, causing her to stagger. She shouted angrily. Bitch, who gave you the courage to be so impudent to my brother Jiang? Even Fang Jingxiang lost to my brother Jiang, who do you think you are? You think my brother Jiang can't bear to kill you because you're beautiful. Actually, she was a little worried. Why did big brother Jiang spare her lowly life? Could it be that he had taken a fancy to her? Kang Te Chu, if you have the guts, release my restriction. I'll kill this bitch. Chu Yunxiu shouted with tears in her eyes. Come, Yingluo, we're going to start. Jiang Tian couldn't be bothered with her. He drew a sketch and the decorations on the feather robe, star crown, and cloud shoes and started to get busy. Whoosh! Jiang Tian flicked his finger. He used the all-creation spiritual technique to refine weapons. The surging power fell on the golden crystal iron and shrouded it. Suddenly, the golden crystal iron continued to extend, becoming thinner and longer. The originally lumpy golden crystal iron became thinner than silk and was even close to the mustard seed level. It was almost invisible. The thickness of silk was 1 strand, but there were also strands thinner than silk, such as Hu, Miao, Chen, Ai, Mo, and mustard seed. Jiang Tian used the all-creation spiritual technique to change the material form and roughly stretch the golden crystal iron to the Mo level. Then, he folded it and tempered it thousands of times. He also branded it with all kinds of strange and small talismans, making it extremely soft and slender. This is the strongest golden crystal iron, but it can be pulled into a silk thread. Chu Yunxiu was stunned and couldn't believe it. Even if she hated Jiang Tian, she had to admit that Jiang Tian's refining skills were unprecedented. At least, it had never appeared in the heavenly star small world. What are you waiting for? Hurry up and weave cloth for me. Jiang Tianfei raised his leg and kicked Chu Yunxiu several meters away. She's used to being a missy. She's too lazy and can't differentiate between the 4 limbs and the 5 grains. I suspect she doesn't know how to needlework. Xiao Yingluo added, using her true essence to control the threads of the golden crystal iron, making them float in the air. This tyrant, this demon king, will be killed sooner or later. Let's see how long you can be so arrogant. Chu Yunxiu gnashed her teeth in hatred. She wanted nothing more than to tear Jiang Tian into pieces. But under Jiang Tian's tyranny, he could only crawl up and cooperate with Xiao Yingluo to control the golden crystal iron threads, weaving them into cloth. Then, Jiang Tian performed the spiritual art of creation again and stretched the Qi dragon's tendons until they were thin and long. He refined them again and again. Finally, he wove them together with the phoenix's feathers into a feather cloak. This feather robe was truly extravagant and noble. Chu Yunxiu was dumbfounded. Her beautiful eyes lit up. One must know that ordinary feather clothes were usually made of golden silk and red-crowned crane feathers. Sometimes, it was just ordinary white crane feathers and silk. They were just for show. But this one was made of Qi dragon's tendons, golden crystal iron, and hundreds of phoenix feathers. Not to mention the effort involved, the speed and attack enhancement, as well as the protective talismans. Just these raw materials alone were priceless. Then, Jiang Tian began to forge the star crown. Jiang Tian found a large furnace and put in many flaming crystals that could burn at high temperatures. He heated the red copper essence until it turned red. After refining and cold quenching, he first forged a dozen hammers. Then, Jiang Tian swung one of the hammers at the rest of the red copper essence. Clang, clang, clang. Clang. Large clusters of sparks erupted between the iron hammer and the iron felt. The rumbling sound lingered in the air, like the ancient bell of an ancient temple, shaking everyone's eardrums to the point of buzzing. Ing Luo, take a rest. Ba Shan, come and forge. Jiang Tian said with a smile. Qiao Ing Luo and Chu Yunqiu retreated together. Okay. Qiao Ba Shan came up eagerly. The 49 Chaos Gale hammer technique that Jiang Tian had taught him appeared in his mind. He swung the hammer according to the blueprint that Jiang Tian had provided and smashed it on the red copper essence. Oh my god! Brother Jiang is so awesome. This is not only a way to forge weapons, but also a way to cultivate. As he struck, Qiao Bashan felt the true essence in his body constantly surging, condensing, and vigorous. He couldn't help but click his tongue in wonder and hit with more vigor. Suddenly, Jiang Tian raised his hand and slapped Chu Yunqiu again. He shouted angrily, slacking off. Did I tell you to back off? Didn't you see so many hammers? Should I have prepared a few for you? Chu Yunqiu's nose was bleeding from the slap, and tears of grievance and resentment welled up in her eyes. But under the tyranny of the great demon king, she could only follow Jiang Tian's instructions and start swinging the hammer. But after a while, she was panting and sweating profusely. She frowned and said, "Why is this hammer so heavy? It's at least a few thousand pounds. I added a gravity talisman. What did you think?" Jiang Tian swung the hammer faster and faster, matching the rhythm of his breathing and heartbeat. It was very rhythmic. In the end, he took off his clothes, revealing a jade-like upper body full of strength and crystal clear. He was sweating profusely. His hammer couldn't be seen clearly anymore. It turned into a black light and covered the whole iron felt. So beautiful. Xiao Yingluo's eyes widened and her saliva almost flowed out. She didn't know if it was because of Jiang Tian's figure or because of his forging skills. Suddenly, all the movements stopped abruptly. A bald sledgehammer was thrown out. The head of the hammer turned red, as if it had just been smelted at a high temperature and was still emitting a scorching aura. "Change the hammer!" Jiang Tian shouted. "Ah! It's coming!" Only then did Xiao Yingluo react. Because of Jiang Tian's high frequency of impact and forging, the head of the hammer had been seriously worn and raised to a very high temperature. It couldn't be used anymore. She couldn't help but admire Jiang Tian to the extreme. It was simply amazing. Not to mention her family's divine craftsman hall, even the top and famous forging halls in Heavenly Star's small world, such as Hammerhead Castle and Xiao Shou Building, were simply rubbish compared to Jiang Tian. Taking the new hammer from Qiao Yingluo, Jiang Tian weighed it and then blasted it out with a bang. After a day and a night of forging, the 10 hammers were all worn out, and the forging continued. Finally, it's done. A hint of joy flashed in Jiang Tian's eyes. There was a pile of extremely delicate parts on the iron felt. There were hundreds of them, exuding a strange golden luster. Jiang Tian's heart moved. With a few light sounds, these parts automatically floated in the air and then meshed with each other as if they were alive, turning into a glittering golden star crown. There were 7 stars on this star crown. Each star could be separated from the star crown and turned into an attack. It was very sharp and could be retracted. In addition, the star crown contained more than 900 small components that could be deformed at will. It could even instantly turn into a helmet to cover the face and defend against attacks from any direction. Above the 7 peaks of the crown, 7 long golden hooks could be extended. They were extremely sharp, like knives and hooks. They were connected to the star crown by interlocking golden chains, but they were very soft and could lock others. This was not only a star crown, but also an attack magic weapon. Later, with the cooperation of several people, Jiang Tian used the Taihao wood as the base, the dragon tendons, cold iron, and golden crystal threads to weave, inlaid with many 6 crystal stones, and sacrificially refined with the essence of the cloud grass several times to make a pair of glittering cloud shoes. According to Jiang Tian, as long as one put on the cloud shoes, even an ordinary person could breathe his last and fly to the sky. As for those foundation stage cultivators, they would be doomed if they wore them. They would have to go to the sky or even cross the universe. After Jiang Tian finished all this, even though Chu Yunxiu didn't have much knowledge in refining, she had to admit that this set of star crown, feathery coat, and cloud shoes could absolutely be called a first-class magic weapon on this continent. Even if Li Longyuan saw it, he would probably love it too much to put it down. I didn't expect that under this starry sky, there would be such a marvelous refining method. At this time, she unexpectedly felt a kind of joy of creation. She was incomparably full and happy. She even felt a surge of gratitude towards Jiang Tian. She was grateful that Jiang Tian had shown her a brand new world. Suddenly, she came to her senses. Her face, which had been slapped by Jiang Tian, became even redder, as if it was dripping blood. She secretly scolded herself, "Chu Yunxiu, what's wrong with you today?" She wanted nothing more than to slap herself. "You're really so cheap. He tortured and humiliated you every day, and even crippled father's cultivation and seized Jade Well Peak, but you're actually grateful to him. You're grinding your teeth." Jiang Tian used a dust-clearing talisman to wash off the dust on his body. He suddenly sneered and said, "You're scolding me, right?" "No." Chu Yunxiu hurriedly covered her face. But it was already too late. "Pa!" Jiang Tian slapped her and sent her tumbling to the ground. "You can scold me in your heart. In any case, I can't hear you, but I can hit you." Chu Yunxiu was almost driven mad by Jiang Tian. She danced with joy, gnashing her teeth and saying, "Kang Te Chu, you've gone too far. You're practically not human, you're a demon. You'll die a horrible death." "Ha, demon. A horrible death?" Jiang Tian mocked slightly. "What nonsense are you talking about? My big brother Jiang is a great person. He's going to save this world." Xiao Yingluo said seriously. "No, I'm a demon." Jiang Tian took the tea from the stinky monkey and took a sip. He chuckled and said, "But Chu Yunxiu, haven't you heard that good people don't live long, bad people live for thousands of years?" Chu Yunxiu's face was covered in dust. She gnashed her teeth in hatred, but she was afraid of Jiang Tian's brutality and didn't dare to refute. However, that afternoon, Jiang Tian was meditating cross-legged. Suddenly, Chu Yunxiu walked in arrogantly. "Ha, Kang Te Chu, you're finished." At this time, Chu Yunxiu seemed to be a different person. She was in high spirits, full of confidence, and proud. She had regained her long-lost sense of superiority. "I'm finished." Jiang Tian slowly opened his eyes and chuckled. "That's right, you're about to die." Chu Yunxiu stuck out her full chest, full of disdain and ridicule. "You think you're strong and domineering by occupying Demon Cave Mountain? You think you're capable by killing the blue-eyed toad? You think you're invincible in this starry sky just because you killed Fang Jingxiang?" Her face was full of disdain, and she shouted mockingly. "No, you're still far from it. You have no idea how terrifying and powerful some existences in this world are. They're not something you can compare to."